This is my 14th All-Star game, and I wouldn't want to miss this for the world.
Label the media this year heavily international.
Y después de la pausa, regresaremos al estadio de Arlington en Dallas, Texas.
Erst einmal bei einem All-Star-Spiel. Was ist das Bedürfnis?
Yo, this is the biggest party in baseball here at the All-Star game.
Dodger rookie sensation Hideo Nomo and Seattle's 6'10 intimidator Randy Johnson are the starting pitchers.
I think that's the matchup everybody wants to see.
If I can face Randy Johnson, I can face Nomo.
Hey, the show has just begun. Let's celebrate. The 66th All-Star Game is next.
It began as a one-shot deal in 1933 in Chicago, and here it is, 1995, the 66th Major League Baseball All-Star Game. And for the first time ever, it comes to North Texas, home of the Texas Rangers since 1972, and to the ballpark in Arlington, a beautiful new facility in its second year. Capacity crowd of close to 50,000 to look on. The ballpark in Arlington hosting the All-Star Game. I'm Al Michaels, and welcome to Arlington. And there is really no need to rehash what this sport has been through over the past year. It has been terrible. But the people who play the game and the people who run the game want to put everything on the back burner. They know the problems persist, but at least for one night, just concentrate on baseball, as the brightest stars in both leagues have gathered in one ballpark for the annual midsummer celebration. They call it an all-star game, but it's really an individual showcase, because when you think about the memories, they deal with individuals. In 1934, Carl Hubble struck out 5 future Hall of Famers in succession. In 1970, Pete Rose barreled over Ray Fosse for the winning run. In 71, Reggie Jackson hits an otherworldly home run onto the roof in Detroit. In 84, a 19-year-old rookie by the name of Dwight Gooden strikes out the side. So when this crowd goes home, long after they have forgotten who wins or loses, they'll remember some individual feat. And Tim McCarver, the way the ball travels in this ballpark, it might be a 500-foot home run.
Well, it's possible. Larry Starr. And from the Montreal Expos, Mike Kozak. The batting practice staff from the Montreal Expos, Jerry Manuel, Tommy Harper, and Joe Kerrigan. The coaches from the Chicago Cubs, Jim Riggleman, and from the Houston Astros, Terry Collins. And now, the National League All-Star Team. From the Atlanta Braves, selected but unable to play due to injury, pitcher Greg Maddux. From the Chicago Cubs, first baseman Mark Grace. Outfielder Sammy Sosa. And pitcher Randy Myers. From the Cincinnati Reds, outfielder Reggie Sanders. And pitcher John Smiley. From the Colorado Rockies, outfielder Dante Bichette. From the Florida Marlins, outfielder Jeff Conine. From the Los Angeles Dodgers, shortstop Jose Offerman. Pitcher Todd Worrell. And outfielder Raul Mondesi. From the Montreal Expos, pitcher Carlos Perez. From the New York Mets, infielder Bobby Bonilla. From the Philadelphia Phillies, catcher Darren Dalton. Second baseman Mickey Morandini. Pitcher Tyler Green. And pitcher Heathcliff Slocum. From the Pittsburgh Pirates, pitcher Denny Nagel. From the St. Louis Cardinals, elected but unable to play due to injury, shortstop Ozzie Smith. And pitcher Tom Hickey. From the San Francisco Giants, elected but unable to play due to injury, third baseman Matt Williams. And now, tonight's starting lineup for the National League. First, the manager of the National League, from the Montreal Expos, Felipe Alou. Leading off from the Philadelphia Phillies, center fielder Lenny Dykstra. Batting second from the San Diego Padres, right fielder Tony Gwynn.
Yes, sir.
Batting third from the San Francisco Giants, left fielder Barry Bonds. Batting fourth from the Los Angeles Dodgers, catcher Mike Piazza. Batting fifth from the Atlanta Braves, first baseman Fred McGriff. Batting sixth from the Cincinnati Reds, designated hitter Ron Gant. Batting seventh from the Cincinnati Reds, shortstop Barry Larkin. Batting eighth from the Colorado Rockies, third baseman Benny Castilla. Batting ninth from the Houston Astros, second baseman Craig Biggio. And the starting pitcher from the Los Angeles Dodgers, Hideo Nomo. Ladies and gentlemen, your 1995 National League All-Stars.
That's the National League, the American League lineups and reserves when we come back.
And from the Texas Rangers, Danny Wheat. The batting practice staff from the New York Yankees, Willie Randolph. In the bullpen, Billy Connors. Tony Cloninger. And Brian Butterfield. The coaches from the Milwaukee Brewers, Phil Garner. And from the Texas Rangers, Johnny Oates. And now, the American League All-Star team. From the Boston Red Sox, pitcher Eric Hansen. And first baseman Mo Vaughn. From the California Angels, outfielder Jim Edmonds. Pitcher Chuck Finley. Infielder Gary DiSarcina. And pitcher Lee Smith. From the Cleveland Indians, outfielder Manny Ramirez. Pitcher Dennis Martinez. And pitcher Jose Mesa. From the Detroit Tigers, pitcher David Wells. From the Kansas City Royals, Pitcher, Kevin Apier. From the Milwaukee Brewers, infielder, Kevin Seitzer. From the New York Yankees, catcher, Mike Stanley. And outfielder, Paul O'Neill. From the Oakland Athletics, pitcher, Steve Ontiveros. From the Seattle Mariners, infielder, Tino Martinez. Also elected but unable to play due to injury, outfielder Ken Griffey Jr. From the Texas Rangers, pitcher Kenny Rogers. And from the Toronto Blue Jays, infielder Roberto Alomar. And now, tonight's starting lineup for the American League. First, the manager of the American League from the New York Yankees, Buck Showalter. Leading off from the Cleveland Indians, center fielder Kenny Lofton. Batting second from the Cleveland Indians, second baseman Carlos Baerga. Batting third from the Seattle Mariners, designated hitter Edgar Martinez. Batting fourth from the Chicago White Sox, first baseman Frank Thomas. Batting fifth from the Cleveland Indians, left fielder Albert Bell. Batting sixth from the Baltimore Orioles, shortstop Cal Ripken Jr. Batting seventh from the New York Yankees, third baseman Wade Boggs. Batting eighth from the Minnesota Twins, right fielder Kirby Puckett. Batting ninth from the Texas Rangers, catcher Ivan Rodriguez. And warming in the bullpen, the starting pitcher from the Seattle Mariners, Randy Johnson. Ladies and gentlemen, your 1995 American League All-Stars.
It's 7:20 p.m. in Arlington. The temperature 101 degrees. The national anthems when we come back.
Were overrun in early July from where the RUF had launched attacks on the towns of Kenema and the diamond-rich Kona district. Last week, the rebels began massing near the town of Bow, but independent reports from the area suggest that a preemptive army attack has inflicted heavy casualties on the RUF. Government radio says that
1999. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to Arlington tonight's American League honorary captain, baseball's all-time strikeout king, Nolan Ryan.
Nolan Ryan, moments ago, throwing out the ceremonial first pitch. 27 seasons in the majors. It was in the dirt, low and away, but he still got it up there at about 85 miles an hour. At the age of 48, the great Nolan Ryan. And on the subject of guys who can bring it up there in a hurry, Randy Johnson, at the top of his game the other night in Cleveland, He pitched a complete game against the Indians in which he struck out 13 and didn't walk a batter. It's the first time in his career he pitched a complete game without issuing a walk. So Randy Johnson will get the start tonight. It was between Randy and Kevin Appier, and Johnson's been the hotter of the two lately, and that made the difference. 2 years ago, you'll recall, in Baltimore, John Kruk of the Philadelphia Phillies, then of the Phillies, now of the White Sox, stepped to the plate, lefty against lefty. He had not seen Randy Johnson, and you'll recall the moment. Over his head, the heart palpitations, and you know what happened in the rest of that at-bat. Kruk kept bailing out, and Johnson wound up with a strikeout.
Well, I think
so Randy Johnson will go to the mound, and if you've just picked us up, the lineups were introduced about 15 minutes ago, so we'll bring them back for you. Dykstra, Gwynn, and Bonds for the National League, followed by Piazza in the cleanup spot, then McGriff and Gant, the designated hitter, Larkin, Castilla, and Biggio. The National League starting lineup brought to you by Budweiser. Defensively now for the American League, Albert Bell and Kenny Lofton of the Indians in left and center, and Kirby Puckett in right. The infield, Wade Boggs makes his 10th straight start at third. Cal Ripken, his 12th straight All-Star start at shortstop. So they have made each other's acquaintance in mid-July for over a decade. Baerga is at second, Thomas at first, with Ivan Pudge Rodriguez back of the plate, and Randy Johnson on the mound. He'll be followed probably by Appier, then we'll see Dennis Martinez, and then some of the closers on the staff. Cal Ripken, of course, the centerpiece this year as we look ahead to September. If he stays healthy, he will on September 6th, barring a rainout between now and then, eclipse the mark that everybody thought was unattainable, Lou Gehrig's consecutive game mark. The umpires tonight, Durwood Merrill of the American League is back of the plate. Charlie Williams of the National at first. Al Clark, American, at second. Mike Winters, National, at third. Ted Hendry of the American League down the line in left, and Ed Rapuano down the line in right. There are some different rules in effect. The starters, except pitchers, have to play at least 3 innings unless they're hurt. The pitcher is limited to 3 innings, except if the game goes beyond 9. The DH is in effect in the American League park. Starting pitcher doesn't have to pitch 5 to win, and a catcher can come back. You can start the game, and then if the other catcher gets hurt, you can re-enter the game, and the 3 knockdown rule is not in effect. Oh. We are ready. Lenny Dykstra to lead off for the Philadelphia Phillies. Some guys earn their way into the game by virtue of what they've done during the course of a season, others via reputation. Lenny is the first to admit it's the latter case here as he comes in hitting just .262.
And a reminder that Lenny Dykstra is the center fielder for the defending National League champion Philadelphia Phillies because of the strike last year.
Randy Johnson starts him with a fastball, missing, ball 1. And among other things, with Johnson facing the American League, they're going to take the first ball and throw it out of the game right now, and I guess send it to Cooperstown or to the Texas Hall of Fame or someplace, and that's the reason for the momentary delay. But Johnson gets to face 4 left-handed batters among the first 5 hitters.
And in the American League, only facing 29 all year long. They're 3 for 29 with 18 strikeouts.
3 harmless singles by left-handers off Johnson this year.
Kruk revisited in a way, and the count is 2-0.
Well, if you're a former pitcher, I mean, this is like a perfect time to pitch. Twilight, of course, you like to throw the ball over, but if you're a hitter, I'm not sure you can really pick the ball up that well.
That's all Johnson needs, another advantage.
The 2-0 is in there, and the count is 2-1. You're right, Jimmy. He has everything going for him right now. Dykstra's never seen him. Lefty against lefty, and in the dusk.
I'm sure Lenny's very happy that he hasn't seen Randy Johnson before.
2-2 the count. Dykstra, then Tony Gwynn and Barry Bonds in the first inning.
About the only thing I think, Al, that he doesn't have going for him is that he threw 160 pitches in that last start against Cleveland. And he's been pitching on contrary to what most major league pitchers pitch now, which is 4 days rest, only 3. And only, remember, will only probably go 2 or 3 innings the most.
Dykstra, bothered by a bad back and has missed a lot of time this year, takes up high, ball 3, 3-2. Lenny's .262 average, the lowest among the 18 players in the starting lineups. And through the shadows, it's up high for ball 4. It figures Randy Johnson comes off a game in which he did something he'd never done. Went all the way, doesn't issue a walk, comes to the All-Star game, walks the first hitter.
Well, I think one of his problems when he first came up was walks. Almost 7 walks per game. Now he's got it down before this ball game to just under 3. And of course, if you're tall and you're pumped up and you're 6'10", you're all arms and legs, you have a tendency to overthrow.
Tony Gwynn lifts one in the air down the left field line, and moving over is Albert Bell to make the catch. So 1 pitch and Gwynn is gone, and Dykstra gets back to first with Barry Bonds coming up.
Tony Gwynn quoted in the paper today here in Dallas saying that the best thing to do about Randy Johnson as far as your hitting is concerned is to take him the other way and then sit down. And that's what he did.
Real quickly. Go after that first pitch. I mean, why string it out? Barry Bonds making his 4th consecutive All-Star start. 3 more starts than his father had, but Bobby was an All-Star game MVP. Dad won it in 1973. One and 0 the count. Dykstra at first base and 1 out in the first inning in the first All-Star game ever played in what's known as the Metroplex. The area between Dallas and Fort Worth. Arlington about halfway between the two cities, in a ballpark that opened up last season. And Johnson misses away. 3-0 the count.
Randy Johnson with a history of control problems, so I'm sure he's glad that Durwood Merrill is the umpire tonight.
I would think so. I mean, of all the umpires in the American League, most of them down on one knee. Durwood umpires right over the top. A little more ample strike zone than most. You can kind of see his arms, and I mean, I've pitched to him many years. That's where he wants you to throw it, right between those arms. And of course, Randy Johnson have a little problem doing that.
Dykstra at first, held on by Thomas, and he goes, and Bonds swings and misses, and Rodriguez guns him down. And the crowd loves that. Pudge Rodriguez of the Rangers gunning down Dykstra.
And Pudge really having a difficult time throwing for the last 3 weeks. Dykstra does not have a good jump. Johnson delivers the ball in a hurry. I mean, Rodriguez with a gun for an arm nails Dykstra at second. 13 of the last 14 that have tried have stolen against Rodriguez.
And now Bonds strikes out swinging. So they go from a man on and 3-0 on Bonds to, in effect, 3 up and 3 down. And the National League doesn't score in the first. Quite a sight on the prairie, the ballpark in Arlington, and quite a sight on the mound. Who would have figured Hideo Nomo, last year pitching in Japan, had 5 no decisions, then went 6-0 in June, and they had a lot of the youth baseball players from the area as a part of the pregame ceremonies tonight, and there they were, all greeted by Nomo. Again, the American League batting order brought to you by Budweiser, Lofton, Baerga, and Edgar Martinez, then Thomas, Bell, and Ripken, Boggs, Puckett, and Rodriguez. Bonds, Dykstra, and Gwynn in the National League outfield. Castilla at third, Larkin at short, Biggio at second, McGriff at first, Piazza catching, and Hideo Nomo with Lofton at the plate, missing up high, ball 1. If you haven't seen Nomo, he has an irregular motion, to say the least. He's got a little bit of Louis Tiant. He's got a little bit of Juan Marichal and a few other guys as well. But a great fastball and a great forkball, and the fastball is ripped down the line and right and just foul.
Well, Kenny Lofton, this is his 4th year. He came up, did not hit a home run his first year. The second year, about 7. Last year, 12, as you watch Nomo's windup, but he's become a much better hitter.
And that's in there for a strike.
Well, that's the pitch that he gets most of the strikeouts on, and that's the splitter. He'll throw two of them, one for a strike, and when he gets ahead, that's the one he throws a little bit out of the strike zone.
Now the 1-2 pitch to Lofton.
Here it is.
Waved at and missed. And boy, I'll tell you, you've got the forkball here, and you've also got the twilight, and you've got a strip of sunlight between the mound and the plate. The All-Star Game is being brought to you by Chevrolet. The cars and trucks 36 million people depend on every day. Genuine Chevrolet. By MCI, the company that brings you proof positive. And by Beechwood Aged Budweiser, the king of beers. This Bud's for you. Carlos Baerga, the switch-hitting Cleveland Indians second baseman, one of 6 Indians on the American League All-Star team. And we can get a shot of how difficult it is. There's Nomo in the shade through the strip of sunlight and to the speckled home plate area.
Even though we're out here in Arlington, Texas, it reminds you a little of Yankee Stadium. A lot of shadows, dappled light.
Pop foul, and not a lot of room in foul territory in this park. 1-1 the count.
I tried to talk to as many National League hitters about Nomo. I said, what makes him so difficult? Well, he throws 90 miles per hour. He's got the great split ball, occasional curveball. Bobby Bonilla said, you've never seen anything like it. I said, what do you mean? He said, the windup. So unusual. Hides the ball so well.
Waved at and stroked into right field for a base hit. So Baerga picks up the game's first hit, a single to right, and Carlos is on with 1 out, and Edgar Martinez coming up.
Not too many better hitters around than Carlos Baerga, and he's the type of hitter that would probably handle Nomo better because Baerga has such great plate coverage and is an excellent bad ball hitter. That pitch right around the ankles, and he golfed it to right.
Here is a guy whose nickname should be the Great Unknown. Edgar Martinez leads the league in hitting. He's already won a batting championship. And he is as anonymous a star as there is in the game today. And part of the reason, of course, is he's played on teams that really haven't contended in the past. He plays in Seattle, not a big media center, and he's on a team that possesses 2 genuine superstars in Ken Griffey Jr. and Randy Johnson. So just wind him up, and this guy hits 350, and nobody knows about it. In there, 1-1.
Well, I'll tell you, there are a lot of American League pitchers that know about Edgar Martinez. In '92, won the batting championship. The next year hurt his hamstring. Last year, opening day, hamstring was fine. Dennis Martinez plunked him, bothered by a wrist. But singles to right, when he gets ahead in the count, maybe the pitcher falls behind, he becomes a home run hitter.
Baerga with a very short lead at first, and Martinez fouls it back on the count, 1-2. Martinez leading the league in hitting at 363. Chili Davis is still on the disabled list, 4 points back. O'Neill is here. O'Leary is not, and neither is Nearing. So only 2 of the top 5 on the American League All-Star team.
When you get a little older, you have to cut down on the weight of your bat, and that's what Martinez has done. 1.5 ounces lighter.
Baerga goes. The pitch is high, and Piazza's throw is 1 hop and a great tag made by Biggio. So there's the catcher throwing to a former catcher, scooped out by Biggio at second, who makes the tag on Baerga, sliding in. And each catcher has thrown out a runner here in the first inning.
Well, from his catcher's training, Biggio shows you how to handle balls in the dirt. He did it for years as a catcher, and now he does it as a second baseman. Fine play by Biggio.
3-2 now on Martinez.
And the amazing thing about that is that, as good as Nomo's been, they have been successful stealing 14 out of 16. So that's only the 3rd time all year long they've caught a runner.
And down goes Martinez. So the first inning for each side mirrors each other's. And at the end of 1, no score.
There's a fine line of motor oil separating your car's engine parts that's as little as 1/1000th of an inch. But friction and heat can make motor oil become volatile and vaporize, weakening its ability to protect expensive parts. Texaco Havoline Formula 3 is formulated to control volatility, fight vaporization, and provide complete engine protection, no matter what you drive.
Add more life to your car. Take it to the star.
Like all Americans, I like big things. Big prairies. Big forests and mountains. Big wheat fields. And everything else.
Sir, what's it like living at the typical mid-priced business hotel?
It's okay if you're big on self-denial.
Because you deserve better, ITT Sheraton introduces 4 Points Hotels.
They live for the pleasure, the passion, the thrill. Now they will live forever. Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Interview with the Vampire, rated R.
Meet the world's most courageous and inspirational athletes at the Special Olympics World Games. Plus more racing from the Tour de France, Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Hideo Nomo does not speak very good English, but when he first got to the Dodger training camp this spring, the first words he learned, "Hey, dude." So he had a lot of dudes shaking his hand, giving him the high five.
It's a high five in any language, and Mike Piazza, his battery mate, to lead off in the second inning. No score. Piazza, Fred McGriff, and then Ron Gant. Mike hitting .377, and in his third year in the league, playing in his third All-Star game, and Tommy Lasorda was telling the LA media, along with Fred Claire, just put his name down with a lot of carbon paper. He's going to be on the All-Star team year after year after year, and barring injury, he will. Great player.
Yeah, we talked about Nomo high five for pitching. This guy gets a high five for hitting. We're not talking about Ivan Rodriguez, even though he's hitting well over .330. But I mean, Piazza, boom, right in the dome. Timmy, you took a few of those off your mask.
Yes, I'm glad you said mask.
Randy Johnson. The 1-2 pitch is grounded to the right side and backhanded by Thomas, who flips to Johnson covering for the out. 1 up, 1 down. John Saunders is working the American League dugout tonight. Let's check in with John.
All right, Al, thanks a lot. Here with Ken Griffey Jr., who would be starting in this game for a 6th straight time as an All-Star. He must miss being out there, not having a chance to start.
Yeah, I miss it, but, you know, the fans voted me in, and I'm just here to show my support to the game I love and for all the people who punched my name out.
Give us an update on the broken wrist. I understand a plate and some screws in it.
I've got 6 screws and a plate, but it's not as bad as everybody thinks it is, but it is. It's tough. Rehab a little slow, only because of stiffness. I'm trying to work the flexibility right now, and then I go into strength. But once I get my flexibility, which they said would be 100%, and I'll be back to strength, and then after that, then I start playing.
When do you think you'll be back?
They say mid-August, early September.
All right. Congratulations on being an All-Star again, and get back as quick as you can. Right now, back up to Al.
All right, thank you, John, as Fred McGriff stands in with 1 out and the bases empty and no score. Ken Griffey, a former All-Star Game MVP, an award won last year by McGriff, and the count now on Fred is 1-2. Fred hit a home run to tie last year's game in Pittsburgh in the 9th inning, subsequently won in the 10th on a Moises Alou double. Fred McGriff, who ended the first half of the season on Sunday night with a 3-run 9th inning homer to beat the Giants, and he goes down on strikes, and that's 2 strikeouts for Randy Johnson.
The one thing that left-handers cannot do is keep that right hip in against Randy Johnson. See the hip fly open. Once the hip goes, that outside slider, you can forget about it.
Yeah, you just talk about plate coverage, and once you recognize that, and again, you know, Johnson throws so hard you think that the fastball is his best pitch, but I honestly believe the slider is the best pitch because you just can't pick it up. Ron Gant of the Cincinnati Reds with a count 1-0. Gant, one of 2 Reds in the lineup,
Gant, normally an outfielder, but with the All-Star game played in the American League Park, you have a designated hitter, and he is the DH in there. 1-1. Gant, a remarkable comeback. Broke his leg after signing a huge contract with Atlanta in a motorcycle accident in February of '94. Swing and a miss, and then Atlanta released him, and the Reds took a chance on him, and it has really paid off.
Well, this is what you face if you're the hitter. I mean, this is a look. Not a whole lot of time. Probably about 0.2 of a second to make up your mind.
2-2.
That last fastball that he threw by Gant, 96 miles an hour. And of course, he releases it a little farther out in front of him than most guys. He's 6'8".
Actually, Timmy, make it 6'10". It's worse than you thought if you're a hitter.
3-2 the count.
Talked about the control problems. Had a talk with Nolan Ryan down here and his pitching coach Tom House.
And Gant goes down on strikes. So Randy Johnson in 2 innings strikes out 3, faces the minimum 6. No score at the end of an inning and a half.
Sir, how are the communication services at your mid-priced business hotel?
Sometimes you get through, sometimes you don't.
Because you deserve better communications, ITT Sheridan introduces 4 Points Hotels.
Here at Goodyear's biggest tire plant, we're gearing up for the tire sale you've been waiting for. It's our 25% off sale. Save 25% on selected Goodyear tires at participating retailers all across America. But hurry, this sale ends July 22nd.
At Chevrolet, we feel everyone, regardless of income, deserves a safe car. That's why we equip the all-new Lumina LS with dual airbags, anti-lock brakes, side guard door beams, child security rear door locks. Sure, anyone can build a car like this. That's easy. We build it so most people can afford it. That's genuine Chevrolet.
Waco 2 years later, a tough new look. Diane Sawyer's exclusive interviews with the ATF agents who were there, under fire. What really happened? Turning Point, Thursday.
The ballpark in Arlington, Texas, site of the All-Star game, bottom of the 2nd inning, no score. Hideo Nomo of the Dodgers working on Frank Thomas, Albert Bell, and Cal Ripken. Frank Thomas, who won the home run derby here yesterday, takes inside. The longest shot he hit yesterday afternoon, 470 feet. Thomas 3 for 3 in his prior All-Star game appearances. A swing and a miss, 1-1.
Well, one of his great strengths is the idea of knowing exactly what's a strike and what's a ball. Leads the American League in most walks with 70. You don't see this too often. Nomo usually throwing around 90, throws it right by him at 93 miles per hour. I guess he's pumped too.
2-1. Well, this is the essence of the All-Star game. Forget National League against American League. Oh, there's a minimal rooting interest, but it's confrontations like this. How would Nomo do against Thomas? A mile-high pop. That's as high as it gets. Piazza. 2 down.
Whoops. Snow cone.
You cannot hit a ball any higher than Frank Thomas just hit that pop-up.
Well, here's the pitch selection. Hideo Nomo, really only 3 pitches. In fact, only the 2 main ones we put. You saw the splitter, and now you see the four-seam fastball. National League hitters, maybe 10 slow curveballs. Some pitch the other night didn't throw 1. Well, you ask about the confrontation. Got behind 2 balls and 1 strike to maybe the best hitter in the American League. Got him to pop up. Pretty impressive.
Now Albert Bell hitting .312. And it's pretty clear at this point in the season that the Indians are the best team in baseball. A huge lead in the American League Central Division. They are 12 games in front. They're 46-21. 6 Indians have made the All-Star team. And Albert Bell having a spectacular year again. In the dirt, 1-1.
First time that 3 Indians as position players have started an All-Star game since 1952. Bobby Avila was the second baseman, Al Rosen the third baseman, and Dale Mitchell played left field.
Dale Mitchell, forever known, of course, as the guy who struck out against Don Larson to end Larson's perfect game in the '56 World Series.
On a pitch that was outside.
Yes, sir. In the bullpen for the American League, Kevin Apier, who is the winningest pitcher in the majors, will pitch the 3rd inning. Randy Johnson is done after 2, giving up no hits and no runs and striking out 3. The 2-1 pitch is fouled back, and the count 2-2 on Bell with Ripken on deck. Randy Johnson with 3 strikeouts in 2 innings, so that's an average of 13.5 per 9. Nolan Ryan with a single season record, but as you see, Johnson's on a pace to eclipse it, and so is Nomo this season. Fouled away, and the count remains 2-2.
Well, the honorary captain for the American League, Nolan Ryan, we saw him throw out the first pitch. How about 5,714 lifetime strikeouts?
1,700 ahead of his nearest opponent, Steve Carlton.
He should be.
Yeah. 1,700 ahead. You talk about records that may never be broken.
And down goes Bell. And that's a good segue, Tim, because of all the records that nobody figured would ever be broken, the guy coming up next is the one guy who's on his way to breaking it. 2,130 consecutive games for Lou Gehrig. But Ripken's going to get there if he can stay healthy between now and early September.
Well, here you are, 5 American League hitters, 3 down on strikes. They were looking for the forked ball. He threw the express right by him.
Cal Ripken makes his 12th consecutive All-Star game start.
Actually, the 12th straight year, and that is a record. Willie Mays had 14 All-Star game starts, but that was when 2 a year were played from 59 through 62.
Ripken lashes one to right field, and on the run is Tony Gwynn to make the catch. So it's a 3-up, 3-down inning with some help from Gwynn. Nomo sets the American League down in order. We'll go to the 3rd at Arlington. As we go to commercial, we'll look at Gwynn's catch. No score.
I've been living with heartburn and acid indigestion for 30 years. How's that going to help?
It's new, Mom.
Somewhere men are laughing. And somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey has struck out. Maybe they should have traded him for Bonds.
A 3-run tater for Barry Bonds.
Get ready for the summer's hottest hit. The Indians, the Braves, the Red Sox, and the Reds are all in the season premiere of Baseball Night in America, Saturday on ABC.
No score. Randy Johnson has set down the National League through 2 innings, and Kevin Apier of the Kansas City Royals comes in, making his first All-Star game appearance. Apier is the youngest pitcher on the American League staff at age 27. The book says Jose Mesa of Cleveland is 29, but it could be that Apier is the only pitcher on the staff in his 20s. Could be. And he will face Larkin, Castilla, and Biggio. The Goodyear blimp, stars and stripes hovering, bright blue Texas sky, not a cloud in the sky. The temperature close to 100 degrees at game time. The ballpark in Arlington, home of the Rangers, who at the break in the American League West Division are tied for first place with the California Angels, 9 games above 500. Barry Larkin getting the start because Ozzie Smith was hurt. He gets the start, and Vinny Castilla starts at third with Matt Williams hurt. And earlier we talked about Griffey and the fact he was injured, and Kenny Lofton getting the start in center field for the American League. So 3 replacement starters as Larkin takes the first pitch low, ball 1, 1-0. And there is Ozzie Smith as Larkin takes up high. But Larkin now, with Ozzie approaching retirement, you know, Barry finally getting his due. He's been a terrific player for a lot of years.
Won his first Gold Glove last year. You had an interesting term, replacement starters, about 4 months ago. That's what baseball thought that they may have to use here in Texas, replacement starters.
Timmy, that's a dreadful thought.
We thought we'd do this game with your Plummer hitting cleanup
instead of Bill Plummer.
Right.
Yeah. Where is Bill Plummer?
I'm sure we'll hear tomorrow. The 2-1 pitch is hit in the air down the line in right field, and not a lot of room in foul territory, and it drifts back out of play. 2 balls and 2 strikes to count. Strikeout leaders in the American League. Well, Johnson on top with 152, and he struck out 3 tonight. Apier would be next. Todd Stottlemyre of Oakland in triple figures. Finley is here. David Cohn won the Cy Young Award last year, but is not here.
No, Apier also leading in most starts, has been pitching on a 4-day rotation. The only pitcher that's been doing that, in fact, the whole staff in Kansas City all year long. But that's that slider. He is a control pitcher. I mean, the league is hitting under 200 at 198, which is the lowest in the American League, or at least the lowest of the pitchers here at the All-Star game.
3 balls, 2 strikes on Larkin, leading off in the 3rd inning with no score. He reaches out, grounds it down to Baerga, and the Indian second baseman throws him out. 1 away. Castilla coming up, and let's check in. We'll go to the National League dugout and Leslie Visser. Leslie?
Al, in Japanese, his name means hero, and that's what his teammates have thought of him so far. Hideo Nomo and his interpreter, Kent Brown. Hideo, what was the experience of being out there and with your teammates, and was this much more than you expected when you signed with the Dodgers?
今夜の時は体験はどうでしたか？今夜じゃなくて昨日からもうずっと楽しく過ごしてます。わかりました。Not only tonight, but last night, it's been a wonderful experience.
Quite a special experience. Well, you worked, people have said that you're reminiscent of Louis Tiant. In fact, you worked with him in spring training. What was the biggest adjustment for you both on and off the field?
ルイス・ティアントの選手と一緒に練習しましてですね、そしたらね、一番大きな怖いことは何でしょうか？怖いこと？投げる方に。投げることで？投球すること。いや、怖いことないです。楽しいです。No change at all. It's the same as always.
It is. Well, pretty impressive. He says it's just this hot in Osaka, Al. Back to
you. Well, he did what the crowd came to see him do tonight, as Vinny Castilla is at the plate, 0-2 the count, and he waves at it and goes down swinging. So the Colorado Rockies' Vinny Castilla strikes out for the 2nd out here in the 3rd inning, and that will bring up Craig Biggio.
Well, this is a pitcher's pitch. You get ahead in the strike zone. I mean, you can see Rodriguez move out, and that's that good hard slider that he throws. Also has a splitter very much like Hideo Nomo. It's like he traded a baseball for one of her front teeth. Pretty good trade.
Tough to leave under a pillow, isn't it?
That ball's worth a heck of a lot more now than it was earlier today. 1-0 the count on Craig Biggio. You think of the Astros through the years, and they've had a fair amount of success, and yet Houston has not had a non-pitcher start an All-Star game since 1973. It'd be 22 years. The last non-pitcher to start would be Cesar Cedeno in the 73 All-Star game. And here's Biggio, who began his career back of the plate and then won a Gold Glove at second base, wrapping one down to short, and Ripken throws him out. So it's a 1-2-3 inning for Appier. The pitchers dominant early. No score after 2.5.
Nothing is tougher on dirt. Than a 191 horsepower Chevy S-Series extended cab 4x4. Chevy trucks like a rock.
They're on solid ground.
And it has that, as you can see, that old brick facade around the circumference of the stadium, and it's fully enclosed, and in center field is a 4-story office building. I was reading a story, one of the architects was talking about the fact they wanted to enclose it because when you looked out, you didn't see downtown high-rises as you do in Baltimore or Cleveland. All you see, as he put it, were a whole bunch of industrial sheds and dry prairie land for miles. So they enclosed it. They put you in here. It's like being in a time warp, and it's like being in a geography warp as well. As John Smiley delivers the first pitch to Boggs, and he hits one to center field, and Dykstra's there to make the catch. So 1 out, Puckett coming up, and let's check in with former Oriole catcher Rick Dempsey in the bullpen. Rick?
Thank you, Al. I go back a long way with this guy right here. I had him when he was a pup, his first day in the big leagues. He was a great pitcher back in the Baltimore Orioles organization, but I think he gets better and better every year now, pitching in your 4th All-Star game. 40 years old. How do you feel, Dennis?
Well, Rick, it's like you say, it's been way back when we started this thing, but now I feel proud that I'm still here playing, and I feel proud to be in my 4th All-Star game, representing the Cleveland Indians this time in my hometown, Nicaragua.
Okay, Al, back up to you.
All right, thank you, Rick. Rick Dempsey doing double duty, working with us tonight. He's also the manager of the Dodgers AAA Farm Club in Albuquerque. And the pitch inside to Kirby Puckett, and the count 2 balls and no strikes.
As a matter of fact, he told his ball club in Albuquerque that he would shave his head if they won 10 in a row. So they have won 10 in a row, and he is going to get a buzz cut.
Puckett hits one right back to the mound, and Smiley throws him out with Ivan Rodriguez coming up. A reminder, coming up Saturday, first of 6 games on ABC, Baseball Night in America, regional games around the country. Check your local listings beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern and 7 Central. The crowd loves it now because Ivan Rodriguez, their guy, comes up to hit. One of 2 Rangers on the All-Star team. The other is the pitcher, Kenny Rogers. So Pudge Rodriguez, who has established himself clearly as the best catcher in the league, stands in with 2 out and the bases empty in the 3rd. And Smiley nips the corner for a strike.
Rodriguez 4th All-Star game, and he's only 23 years old.
And how about having to face a lineup, if you're the opposition, the opposing pitcher, the 9th hitter is hitting .332.
A lot of that credit, says Rodriguez, goes to Rudy Jaramillo, who was formerly the batting instructor down for the Houston Astros and very instrumental in Jeff Bagwell's season last year. MVP was Bagwell.
That's grounded down to short. Barry Larkin scoops it up, throws him out. 3 quick innings in the books. No score. We'll go to the 4th after this from our ABC stations.
It's 2 of your favorite stars together for the first time. Tony Danza's back on television with Lori Loughlin.
But over time, deposits build up in a car's engine, which can ruin performance. Fortunately, there's Diamond Shamrock Advanced Gasolines. All 3 grades are specially formulated to clean entire intake systems and to minimize harmful combustion chamber deposits, so you get the performance you want. Advanced Gasolines from Diamond Shamrock.
13 Eyewitness News, the best newscast in town.
Fourth inning, and there's an all-star. 7 times he made the all-star team. Larry Doby, he was the first black player in the American League. Jackie Robinson, of course, preceded him in the National League. Now an assistant to American League President Gene Budig. 13-year career with Cleveland, Chicago, and Detroit. The great Larry Doby. He's looking on. A rapidly played 3 innings as Len Dykstra leads off in the 4th. Dykstra, Gwynn, and Barry Bonds to face Kevin Apier, the National League without a hit. Lenny Dykstra walked his first time up and was thrown out stealing. Started his career with the Mets and then went to the Phillies in '89. And what a deal that turned out to be. You might say that the Mets were hornswoggled. Trying to get in a local term in that trade. Disastrous deal for New York, and it turned out to be a terrific trade for Philadelphia as he bounces one down to Baerga and he throws him out.
Lenny Dykstra and Roger McDowell for Juan Samuel. That was when Davey Johnson was the manager of the Mets, of course. Frank Cashin, the general manager. And then after the season was over, Juan Samuel moved out to Los Angeles, so the Mets had nothing after a half a season. Got rid of Dykstra and McDowell. So I think hornswoggled is the appropriate word.
It was. Here's Tony Gwynn taking a strike and the count 0-1.
Well, I guess if you're a Met fan, you got to be a little happy. Samuel is having a good year in Detroit this summer. It's just a little bit late.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 7 years late.
Exactly.
Right.
No problem outside of that. Mike Winters says that's a strike on the appeal, and the count is 0-2.
Tony Gwynn, 5 batting titles. A .335 career average for Tony Gwynn.
And that's inside, and the count 1 ball and 2 strikes.
In 120 years of National League history, only 3 players have won more batting titles than Tony Gwynn. Honus Wagner had 8. Rogers Hornsby had 7. Stan Musial 7. Tony Gwynn, by the way, passed Wade Boggs this last week. Wade Boggs is now at .334 lifetime.
Highest average among all active players. One-two pitch. Broken bat bouncer, gloved by Thomas, who thinks about flipping it to Apier and then does it himself. Well, you know, there's been so much talk about games and how long they are and the new rules that will be eventually instituted to speed them up. Here we are in the 4th inning with 2 out, and this game is about 45 minutes old. About as fast as it gets. There is a rookie, one of 3. Tyler Green, one of 3 on the staff. We already saw Nomo, Green of the Phillies, and Carlos Perez of the Expos, all rookie pitchers, as Bonds hits it weakly back to Apier. And the National League, through 4 innings, does not have a hit against Johnson and Apier. After 3.5 in Texas, no score.
American families have made their choice. Once again, they've chosen the Buick LeSabre as Family Circle magazine's Family Car of the Year. For reasons like safety, dependability, performance, and style, American families chose LeSabre as Family Car of the Year over every other sedan, foreign or domestic. Buick LeSabre, the American family car.
On Friday, July 28th, Universal Pictures invites you to a world like none you've ever seen before. Kevin Costner. Waterworld, rated PG-13, starts July 28th.
Sir, what's it like doing your own laundry at your mid-priced hotel?
I'm beginning to feel closer to my mother.
Because you deserve laundry service, ITT Sheridan introduces 4 Points Hotels.
Here at Goodyear's biggest tire plant, we're gearing up for the tire sale you've been waiting for. It's our 25% off sale. Save 25% on selected Goodyear tires at participating retailers all across America. But hurry, this sale ends July 22nd.
Canadian drivers Jacques Villeneuve and Paul Tracy lead IndyCar's best north of the border. They hit the streets for the Motion Indy Toronto Sunday on ABC.
Bottom of the fourth inning in Arlington as the All-Star game continues. The American League and the National League scoreless. And the top of the order with Kenny Lofton to lead off, taking a strike. Each team has sent up the minimum number of players, though each team has had a base runner. The National League with a walk, the American League with a single, but each base runner was thrown out trying to steal. So nobody in this game has advanced past first base. And the count 1-1, and it reflects what Tim talked about at the top. You think about the All-Star game and power displays and the great hitters, but the cumulative average of all of the All-Star games in history is 245. And Biggio goes to his knees, throws, and gets him. And that's a great play because Lofton is as quick as they come. The Indian center fielder and Biggio sprawled out and still able to get enough on his throw to get him at first.
Well, just an outstanding play. I guess the irony here is that Biggio said before the game he gets changed from catcher to a second baseman after he makes the All-Star team, and then they need a catcher. So they go out and trade for one. They go get Ed Taubensee, and who do they give up? Kenny Lofton. So Lofton hits the ball. Biggio, who moves from behind the plate to second, robs him of a base hit here in the All-Star game.
And the ball slipped out of his hand as well, even better on the replay.
And that's one of the reasons he was moved to second base, because of his athletic ability and his speed. They didn't want to squander that behind the plate.
Carlos Baerga has the only hit in the game. John Smiley, who was an addition to the pitching staff over the weekend, ahead now 0-2. Smiley made the staff only because Greg Maddux, who was named to the staff, suffered a slightly pulled groin in his last start for Atlanta last week. So Maddux, even though he is here, is not on the active roster, and Smiley takes his spot.
He's got a great changeup, and he just threw it. There's Maddux with the glasses. Slocum.
0-2 the count.
It really appears, Tim, that he's come a long way talking about John Smiley. I saw him pitch with the Twins for a couple of years in the American League, but looking like he's using all his pitches, both sides of the plate.
Well, he fell into the habit of using that straight change, that circle change, too much. And now he's starting to throw right-handed hitters in particular inside. This is a changeup here, however.
And he lifts it into foul territory back of third, but so little room there. In Oakland, that's an out. In Texas, it's in the sixth row.
Tell you, Jim, if you pitch for 15 years, and you know this certainly better than I do, but if you pitch for 15 years in the major leagues, you have to, it's a constant series of adjustments that you have to make, and you have to adjust before the hitters adjust to you.
If you want to have a good year.
Yeah, right.
You really have to do it. The good ones, they adjust from hitter to hitter, as do hitters against pitchers.
Smiley's 0-2 pitch is grounded toward the hole, a base hit. So the only hits in the game belong to the Indians. Carlos Baerga. A single in the first to right, and a single to left here in the fourth, with Edgar Martinez coming up. And the All-Star game is being brought to you by Buick and your local Buick dealers. Remember, Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. By Texaco, Clean System 3 gasolines. And by Nike, who encourages you to participate in the lives of America's youth. Look at that shot. I mean, that's just out in the middle of this prairie sits this ballpark, and as I said before, it's like it's a geography warp in the sense you have no idea when you're in this park that you're in Texas. It's a great stadium. It's a lot of fun when you look around, and they have a lot of little nuances, but there's nothing really in it that's reflective of the Southwest, so to speak,
except the weather.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I was expecting like a stucco exterior or something.
Hit down the line, foul. Well, you know, one of the reasons that teams like Cleveland and Baltimore clearly have been so successful in drawing people are the new parks And even though they haven't drawn as well here as they have in those parks, you come into this stadium and just to come to the park, it's a treat. It really is. It's the kind of stadium you want to come early and stay very late. Come for batting practice and just enjoy it. They really did a beautiful job with this place. Martinez fouls it off, and the count is 0-2.
Now, you mentioned speed. Lofton with 19 steals, been thrown out 9 times. Alomar, we haven't seen him yet with 11. Baerga with 5, only been caught 1. But the American League only stealing 63 bases. In the National League, 144. We're talking about these squads, so a lot more foot speed for the NL team tonight.
1 out. Baerga at first, and Martinez pops it up into shallow left center field. Drifting out is Larkin to make the catch, and Baerga retreats to first. So Barry goes a long way to haul it in for the second out, and will bring up Frank Thomas.
Well, you talked about pitching inside. Look where this ball is. I mean, Martinez, we're talking about the top hitter. Can't get the bat out, gets up on the bat. And we talked earlier about Barry Larkin. Great instincts, because he does not catch that ball unless he immediately sprints out there. Got under it and made a nice catch.
He just opened his mouth in case Baerga does run. That means Biggio will be covering.
Of course, you know as well as I, Timmy, I don't think they want to take the bat out of this guy's hand.
No, I don't either. Not after yesterday.
Frank Thomas, who has won back-to-back MVP awards, takes outside. He won it in the American League last year. And Tim, you mentioned Jeff Bagwell before, but it shows you from one year to the next what can happen. Bagwell, the National League MVP last year, not even on the All-Star team this season.
Interesting you mentioned Bagwell. He and Bagwell were born on the same day. Frank Thomas, born in Columbus, Georgia. Jeff Bagwell, born in Boston on the same day. And both of them win MVP awards for their respective leagues last year.
We talked about the great eye that Frank Thomas. I asked him, I said, you know, when did you learn the strike zone? He said, high school. He said, if I swung at bad pitches, I had to run wind sprints. Didn't want to do that.
Thomas drills one to deep left field. If it's fair, it's out of here by a mile, and it is fair. That's one of the things a crowd of 50,000 comes to see. The big hurt, putting the hurt on the National League.
How unusual is this? The first All-Star game played at Comiskey Park in 1933, and this is the first home run ever hit by a White Sox player.
It's amazing. Compositely, the White Sox in the All-Star game had 180 at-bats since 1933, and that's the first home run by a White Sox player.
Well, this is a missile launch. I mean, you think you're down on the east coast of Florida, and they're launching one up into the skies. Well, that's what the American, I mean, you got to pitch around. That's the theme song.
Atlantis 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the amazing thing about the numbers that Thomas puts up is last year, he had Darren Jackson hit behind him. He's in Japan. Julio Franco hit 20 home runs and 98 RBIs, hit well over 300. He's also in Japan. Well, he's the only guy in town over there.
Joe Kerrigan on the phone to the bullpen as Albert Bell lifts a pop-up back of third. Vinny Castilla calls for it, but Larkin says, I'll handle it, and Barry does. But the American League takes the lead on a 2-run homer by Frank Thomas at the end of 4. 2-0 Americans.
I believe hitting a round ball,
the round bat, is the hardest thing to do in all sports.
I believe Roberto Clemente is the patron saint of baseball.
I believe in the sacrifice fly.
I believe pitchers should buy catchers lunch.
I believe batting practice makes perfect.
I believe Lou Gehrig's birthday should be a national holiday.
I believe in the designated hitter.
I believe Tony Gwynn sleeps with his bat.
I believe the squeeze play should be taught in public schools.
I believe walls are hard. No one's bigger than the game.
Except maybe Boog Powell.
I believe somebody somewhere understands the infield fly rule. I believe it's time to sing. Take me out to the ball game.
I believe even I sing better than Don Mattingly.
I believe that.
And I believe every player should have a day off after 2,160 games.
I believe dome stadiums are great.
For tractor fools. And I believe the two greatest words in the English language
Or play ball. Play ball.
Play ball.
Play ball.
I believe if Shoeless Joe Jackson was playing today, he'd have a shoe contract.
Gramercy Press in cyberspace. We can set up our own bookstore on the internet. Click the book they want right on the screen. They're reading the baby. We can go to the schools, textbooks direct to the children's little hands. Cool.
Marketplace MCI. Your new business address in cyberspace. Online, interactive, secure. At your fingertips. To install the 21st century in your office today, call 1-800-888-8100.
Let me guess. One side of you craves easy chair comfort, while the other side itches for performance, right? Well, meet Buick Regal with its famous 3800 V6 engine and Grand Touring suspension. Add to that an all-new interior with body-sensitive seats. And finally, there's a car for the two of you. Buick Regal.
Is he crazy in love or just plain crazy?
Earl K. Long is the sanest man I've ever known.
All New Men in Blaze, Sunday at a special time on ABC.
Two 0 the American League on top on a two-run blast by Frank Thomas. And Thomas is done for the night. Mo Vaughn of the Boston Red Sox with his 24 home runs is the new first baseman, and the new pitcher is Jim Palmer's one-time teammate. I mean, a long time ago. 40-year-old Dennis Martinez having a brilliant season with Cleveland.
Well, he certainly is, and it's not always about power. I mean, we saw Nomo with the great fastball and the splitter, Johnson being overpowering. Dennis still throws awfully good for a guy 40. Great curveball, terrific changeup. And you talk about pitching, you got to work both sides of the plate. This guy can do it. But the bottom line, there's a guy that had a problem with alcohol. He battled it. He resurrected his life. And you're not going to find a better teammate to ever play with the exception of a guy that just got 3,000 hits. One of Dennis's teammates, Eddie Murray, than Dennis Martinez. Terrific guy and a great pitcher.
He faces Mike Piazza, Fred McGriff, and Ron Gant in the 5th inning. The National League still doesn't have a hit. The first batter of the game, Lenny Dykstra, drew a walk and was thrown out at second, attempting to steal. And since then, the National League has only hit one ball out of the infield. That was a fly ball to left by Gwynn in the first. 1-0 the count on Mike Piazza. Ripped right into Ripken's glove.
Oh.
Piazza gone, lining out to the shortstop. McGriff coming up, and let's get a word from John Saunders.
All right, Al, thanks a lot. Now, yesterday, Frank Thomas won the home run hitting contest. Nobody told you it was over?
No, not at all. We're down 0-0 there, and I just wanted to get some entertainment going in this ball game. I was going to take my hags. This is the way I face no more. I was going to swing hard at everything that's close, so, and I did that with John Smiley there, too. We're having fun here. That's what All-Star Game is all about, and I went out and had a little fun.
Jim Palmer said in our meetings yesterday that there is no one really who is in the type of zone that you are in. Is that the feeling you get each time you step to the plate?
Well, you know, the last couple of months, I normally get hot, so I'm swinging the bat well right now. Like I said, I'm just going out and having a little more fun.
Unfortunately for the American League, he won't be able to stick around. He's got to catch a flight. They're playing tomorrow night, the day after the All-Star Game, so we'll let you go. Congratulations, and you can hope your home run stands up.
Thank you very much, John. I had a great time.
All right, back to Al.
All right, McGriff launches one to right field, but Puckett is there on the warning track to make the catch for out number 2 here in the 5th inning. Well, there's baseball tomorrow, believe it or not. 3 games are scheduled. There's also primetime on ABC tomorrow night featuring Home Improvement, Ellen, Grace Under Fire, Roseanne, and Primetime Live. That's the lineup. And then on Thursday, Matlock, McKenna, and a special episode of Day One with Diane Sawyer gracing your screen. That's Thursday right here on ABC. Ron Gant pops it up in foul territory, and Mo Vaughn is in foul ground to make the catch and retire the side. So Martinez has a 1-2-3 inning. The National League still doesn't have a hit as the American League leads 2-0.
So you're probably wondering how Oldsmobile ever came up with a car like this. Well, first we told all the bean counters to go to lunch. Then we sent all the pencil pushers home. And finally, we had our engineers watch a lot of exciting movies. The result wasn't like anything we'd ever done, or anyone else either. It's your money.
Today, there's so much to reach for. And right now, one company has the technology, the service, the experience. AT&T, creating vital bridges that help you put it all within your reach.
It's all within your reach.
That's your true choice. AT&T.
The Senior Tour's biggest stars meet in Michigan, hoping to drive away with one of their premier events. Coverage of the Ford Senior Players Championship begins Saturday on ABC Sports.
Sun going down over the Metroplex. That's what it's known, this area between Dallas and Fort Worth. Arlington, the site of the All-Star game. Reggie Sanders comes in to play right field now, acknowledging somebody in the stands. And the new pitcher is the rookie from the Phillies, Tyler Green. So Tony Gwynn is done for the night. He flied out and grounded out. We have seen Nomo work two. We saw Smiley work two and give up a two-run homer to Frank Thomas, the only scoring in the game. And now Tyler Green, one of three rookies on the National League pitching staff, will go to work on Ripken, Boggs, and Puckett, the 6, 7, and 8 hitters in the bottom of the 5th inning. Cal Ripken, fly to right. His first time up, takes up high, ball 1, 1-0. Interesting that the American League was such a veteran staff. We talked about the fact that Apier and Mesa are the only ones listed under 30. And you've got 3 rookies here, and that's shot right back through the middle for a base hit. So Ripken with a single, Boggs coming up, and let's get a word from Leslie Visser.
Alan, with the man who passed Wade Boggs for career average, what does that mean to you, Tony Gwynn?
It means it was a long battle. I mean, this is about 10 years. You know, Wade was on fire early in his career, and you know he's still been consistent. But these last 3 years for me, I just can't explain it. I mean, I've hit the ball very well, and have, you know, this 10-year struggle to finally catch him is not something I really thought about. But when you come in here, everybody's telling you caught him. You know, it's a nice feeling because he was a lifetime 340, 350 hitter for a long time. So to finally catch him and pass him, I guess, is something nice.
And what does it mean to have maybe a real pennant race with the Padres this year?
For me, it's like night and day. I mean, going to the ballpark is a lot of fun, and the guys I play with are great. Their attitude's been great, and so we're looking forward to getting back and trying to catch Colorado.
Well, you're a lot of fun. Back to you, Al.
All right. You guys are a lot of fun, too.
Thank you.
Good to be back with you guys again.
It's great.
We sort of drift in and out of people's lives these days, don't we?
Lately, we have.
Yes.
We talked about 5 batting titles, and that's what Tony Gwynn looking 5 right here.
Boggs takes up and in, and the count 2 balls and no strikes.
Tony Gwynn's such a good hitter, they have a new movie about his life out. Batman Forever. I'm sure one of your favorites, James. Both he and Boggs, though, it'd be interesting to see how they end up when their careers are over. Who's going to be ahead? I would imagine that Gwynn has the advantage because of his speed and can get a lot more infield hits than Wade can.
Sure. Also, Tony a little bit younger, and but it's amazing about Boggs. I mean, I've seen him for like 10 or 12 years. I've actually, as you look at Tony Gwynn, I pitched against him. I think he was 2 for 5, but he hadn't really changed. He never goes in slumps. He just goes in periods of adjustments.
2-1 to Boggs is grounded to right field for a base hit. Ripken will take the turn, then hold at second as Sanders' throw comes in. The American League with 2 on and nobody out now against Green and Kirby Puckett coming to the plate. And here's a situation where the All-Star game's a little bit different than other games as Boggs hits it into the hole. The number 8 hitter in a regular season game might lay down a bunt in this situation. To me, they should ban bunting in an All-Star game. The fans don't come to see you bunt.
Unless they're bunting for a base hit.
Exactly. Right. I don't think that Kirby, with a .318 lifetime batting average coming into this season, is thinking too much about bunting. The amazing thing is that Boggs doesn't pull the ball very well, and situationally, he just had a great at bat. Did exactly what a number 2 hitter in an inning should do, especially with a man on first. Pull it into right field.
Puckett waves at it and doesn't get it. 0-1.
I was in the American League clubhouse, as we all were, before the game, and the American League was taking the field, and the last guy out was Kirby Puckett. And one of the coaches came in and said, all right, time to stretch. Kirby said, stretch? I haven't stretched this body in 30 years.
That's a tough body to stretch.
Yeah, right.
You saw Jim Edmonds taking some home video as the pitch was taken for a strike, and the count 0-2.
Well, Kirby's a free swinger, and we just saw what really makes Tyler Green so tough, that knuckle curveball. I mean, he throws in the 90s, but that's his out pitch. And I think Kirby saw it for the first time and was a little bit shocked. Really came down off the table.
0-2 the count. Nobody out. Bottom of the 5th inning. The American League on top 2-0 on a Frank Thomas home run. And down goes Puckett. So that's out number 1, and we'll bring up Ivan Rodriguez. And the crowd again saluting their local boy.
We'll take another look. You know, I talked to Tyler Green. I say, you throw a 2-seamer, 4-seamer. He said, I throw it 4 seams. It sinks, it sails, it goes up, it goes down. That's what I call a live arm.
Tyler Green was just what the Phillies needed this year, with all of their pitchers down for the most part. Kurt Schilling down at the beginning of the year. Tyler Green has really picked up that staff to allow Jim Fragosi's crew to contend this year.
Well, Nomo, of course, was such an improbable all-star selection when the season began. So would Tyler Green. Last year, Green is pitching at Scranton Wilkes-Barre in the International League and leads the league in losses and in walks. And here he is in the All-Star game.
Well, I'll tell you what, he got some tutelage from one of the great pitching coaches in baseball.
Johnny
Padres.
Oh, outstanding.
You know, I mean, Padres won the great changeups, and that's his 3rd pitch. And he said all winter long he worked on that changeup. He said he threw it about the 2nd day of spring training. Padres said, threw it down and away. He said, throw it over the plate, and it's the last time they've ever talked about it.
That's grounded toward the hole, backhanded by Larkin, who goes to second for 1 and back to first, not in time there. So Boggs is forced out at second. Ripken is now at third, and Rodriguez at first with 2 down and at the top of the order now, and lost him.
Tell you the reason why this is a good play. Not only does Larkin make the play, but Biggio almost completes the double play. That would have been one for the books had that been completed. Fine play by Barry Larkin.
Well, it's the old story with Rodriguez. Runs well for a catcher.
Oh, thank you. My favorite phrases.
One of the great qualifiers of all time, huh?
Yeah, right.
There's a shattered bat. The barrel winds up to the right of the mound, and Green throws him out. So Tyler gets himself out of a jam, and at the end of 5, it's the American League 2 and the National League nothing.
Time. It fools you. You think you have all the time in the world, and then one morning you wake up
and you're older and getting closer to retirement. But many Americans haven't saved enough to enjoy it. That's why there's Sun America. Ask your financial advisor about us today. Because it's not just your retirement, it's your future. Look to the sun. Sun America.
I'll have the chili.
Chili? You should know better.
And I'll have the fries.
Fries? You should know better.
And now I'll have the Mylanta.
Mylanta? You should know better.
You should know. Dose for dose, Tums Ultra neutralizes more acid than Mylanta regular strength. And while this has aluminum and magnesium...
Tums Ultra has calcium, something your body needs anyway. You'll like that.
I'll have the chili.
I know. I should know.
Tums. You ever hear anyone talk about life like you gotta chew it up and spit it out? You gotta want it so bad you can taste it. You gotta be hungry. If so, Gatorade has one question for you. You want something to drink with that? Because you're gonna be thirsty. Life is a sport. Drink it up.
Samuel Faulkner has been thrown a curve.
I'm pregnant.
Here's the windup. And the pitch.
Oh, you hit like a girl, you... Knock me out!
Now it's a full count.
Follow me! No!
Because this summer, one comedy is a home run from the director of Mrs. Doubtfire. 9 months, rated PG-13. Starts tomorrow at theaters everywhere.
Get ready for the summer's hottest hit. The Indians, the Braves, the Red Sox, and the Reds are all in the season premiere of Baseball Night in America, Saturday on ABC.
Back in Arlington, Al Michaels with Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver, the All-Star game, the most innings to start an All-Star game without getting a hit. The American League 5 1/3 innings back in 1961 at Candlestick Park before Harmon Killebrew hit a home run. Now we start the 6th. The National League still doesn't have a hit. And Barry Larkin to lead things off. It's Larkin, Castilla, and Biggio due up in that order. Larkin grounded out in the 3rd inning. So Randy Johnson went 2, Kevin Apier went 2, and now Dennis Martinez in his 2nd inning of work, and that's hit softly into the glove of Baerga. So that's 5 1/3. No hit innings with Castilla coming up, and let's get a quick word from Rick Dempsey.
You're at home. Your team's in first place. It's your first All-Star game. You're at home. How do you feel about going in there now?
Well, I'm a little nervous, but hopefully when I get out there, after the first pitch, I'll calm down and be able to do a good job for my guys here.
All right, good luck, Kenny.
Appreciate it.
Back to you, Al.
All right, Rick. So we'll see Kenny Rogers, and now we'll see Vinny Castilla, another of the improbable starters. Castilla takes up high. Here's a guy who is starting because Matt Williams is hurt. But you think about Castilla playing on, all of a sudden, a very good team in its 3rd year, the Rockies, with Dante Bichette here and 2 players not here, Andres Galarraga and Larry Walker. In its 3rd year, their 3rd year, the Rockies not only good, but a talented team with stars and interesting players to watch.
3 of the top 4 home run hitters in the National League belong to the Colorado Rockies. And there's the guy sandwiched in between. Of course, Matt Williams, who broke his right foot last year, was on a pace to break Babe Ruth's record. He ended the strike-shortened season with 43 home runs.
Castilla grounds it down to 3rd. Boggs stays with it. Nice play. Wade won a Gold Glove last year. You saw right there the way he adjusted.
Oh, did he ever?
Erratic hop.
You know, last year talking really the coach for the Yankees that really set the defense was Clete Boyer, one of the great third basemen of all time. And right there, again, fast feet, quick hands, and sure hands. And here's a guy we talked about the 5. Oh yeah, perfect. The 5 batting titles, but he worked real hard on his defense. He's trying to work real hard in our air conditioning.
Fan appreciation day.
Fans for fans. So 5 2/3 scoreless innings, the longest a team has gone ever in an All-Star game. And we talked about at the very top, 245, the collective batting average through the years. Right now, the collective average in this game is 139. The teams are 5 for 36. So it's become a spectacle for the pitchers, especially in recent years. Yeah.
Right.
With the occasional aberration like last year as Biggio lifts one down the line, deep left field, and it is gone. Craig Biggio, with Felipe Alou saluting him, gets the National League's first hit. And as was the case in '61 when Killebrew got the American League's first hit with a home run, Biggio with a home run here for the Nationals' first hit.
Well, I think if you go back to '91 and the year Cal Ripken was most valuable player, he had a home run off Dennis Martinez on a similar pitch, a high curveball. So you make a great pitch away, you speed up the bat, and Biggio says, "Thank you very much. I'll just loft it into the second deck."
That home run at Sky Dome to center field.
American League leading 2-1, and Len Dykstra comes up for the third time in the game. He is walked and grounded out. Strike, 0-1. You can tell, even though the dimensions here can be difficult in spots, it's an asymmetrical park. 390, for instance, to the power alley in left center. It's a good hitter's park as Dykstra gets backed off.
Well, Buck Showalter, the manager of the Yankees here over the weekend, said the infield is like concrete. It carries everywhere. You know, he said somebody asked me where the ball carries. I just said everywhere. And there he is, hiding from us.
Second youngest manager in baseball. He was the youngest when the season began. But with Gene Lamont of the Chicago White Sox being fired, Terry Bevington, who took Lamont's place, now becomes the youngest manager in baseball.
Who's older, Showalter or the pitcher Dennis Martinez?
Dennis Martinez, a little more than a year.
Well, Showalter might be the oldest in the game if Steinbrenner keeps looking over his shoulder on road trips.
You know, I was wondering, we walked in yesterday and it was pretty warm, and I was wondering what's warmer, the ballpark at Arlington or managing for George Steinbrenner? I mean, some intensity there.
That's more than a rumor then, huh? That George calls Buck on occasion.
I would imagine so.
The 2-2 pitch is just off the plate. Ball 3. There was the temperature on the field at 3:30 this afternoon. We're back in double digits right now. But it's a dry heat, as they say, right?
Yeah, right.
3-2 is hit right back to the box. And Martinez takes care of Dykstra. But the National League gets on the board in the 6th on the home run by Biggio at the end of 5.5. American League 2, National League 1.
It has dominated the field. And now Toyota's newest 4x4 Tacoma has arrived. Only it's stronger. Tacoma's impressively powerful new 190 horsepower V6 outguns the leading competitor's best. It's tougher out here where toughness counts. And with its class-leading ground clearance, Tacoma runs free. Toyota Tacoma, the arrival of the fittest.
Apollo 13 is the #1 movie in America.
Houston, we have a problem.
Time magazine calls it one hell of a ride. Tom Hanks, Apollo 13, rated PG, now playing.
This guided missile is brought to you by Ken Norton and his Reebok NFL Pro Line jacket, who remind you that players are made in the preseason.
Best things are forever. The thrill is never gone. And the future's ours together. Let's keep it going on. You're the part of me. That's the heart of me. Dr. Pepper, you're a part of me. Yeah.
If you love to eat spicy foods, you know heartburn can be a real problem. Well, not anymore. This is new Pepsid AC, acid controller. Pepsid AC not only relieves heartburn, Pepsid AC can actually prevent it by controlling acid at its source, so heartburn can't get started. No N-acid can claim to do that. And with Pepsid AC, there are no chalky mints or liquids. Only one tiny Pepsid AC tablet prevents heartburn. You can be heartburn-free with new Pepsid AC.
Cops catch crooks in the act when the would-be bad guys pick on the wrong guys. And who's buried in outlaw Jesse James' grave? The story on Eyewitness News tonight after the ball game.
The ballpark in Arlington as the All-Star game continues. Lights now taking full effect before a crowd of close to 50,000. And they're watching the American League on top by a score of 2-1. You saw that shot from the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes. Sammy Sosa is now the center fielder for the National League. Bobby Bonilla comes into play third base, and Denny Nagel of the Pittsburgh Pirates, the only Pirate on the All-Star squad, is the new pitcher. And the batter is Carlos Baerga, who's 2 for 2 with a couple of singles. Denny Nagel, among other things, 9 wins for a team having a bad year, and hit a grand slam home run a couple of weeks ago.
Well, his pitching coach in Pittsburgh is Ray Miller, former pitching coach that I work with, and what he has said is that Denny's learned that more is less. In other words, don't try to overthrow. Take something off. Curveball, slider, fastball, changeup. Probably the changeup, one of his best pitches. As a big guy, you really don't expect that, but really changes speeds well.
That's hit fair inside the line and down into the corner, and is touched either by a fan or the ball boy or the chair. And so Baerga gets his third hit. He is 3 for 3 with 2 singles and now a ground rule double.
Now we see him from the other side. He's a switch hitter, and you're talking about one of the toughest outs in the American League. 2 straight years of over 200 hits, 20 home runs, and 100 RBIs. You just don't see that anymore.
And Baerga out, and Roberto Alomar, the only Blue Jay on the team, comes in to run for him. And Alomar will no doubt stay in the game at second base. Boy, it's crazy. The Blue Jays, back-to-back World Series winners, a treasure trove of individual talent, one guy on the All-Star team. What happened?
After having 7 placed there 2 years ago when the American League went to Baltimore, and Cito Gaston was the manager.
Well, tough to win games when you don't get good pitching. I mean, as good as they are offensively. Olerud, you know, a couple of years ago hitting 360. This year really struggling.
Cleveland Indians, a perfect example. As good as they are offensively, they're leading the American League in pitching.
Edgar Martinez, who has struck out and popped out, hitting in the bottom of the 6th inning. The American League leading it 2-1. The American League has won 6 of the last 7 All-Star games. The sole exception last year. Stroke foul, and the count is 0-2.
It's also funny how it works out for a guy like Denny Nagel. Nagel came to the Pirates when the Pirates traded John Smiley to the Minnesota Twins. And what happened? Smiley comes back to the National League now with Cincinnati, and he and Nagel are 2 of 9 pitchers selected for the National League All-Star team. It just takes a while for a young pitcher to develop like Nagel.
Alomar is going. The pitch is up and in, and the throw is in the dirt.
Well, we talked about speed earlier. Lofton, Alomar with 11 steals, only been caught twice, and a guy that you wouldn't expect, Mo Vaughn, 10 out of 12. But Alomar, again, you time a young pitcher. Right there, he's getting the jump. He gets the good running jump, and easily.
Roberto, no stranger to the All-Star game, has now stolen 4 bases in his All-Star game appearances. And the infield plays in with the count 1 ball and 2 strikes. In the dirt, blocked by Piazza, 2-2 the count.
I tell you, it's hard to put a number on it, but you got a guy that's leading the American League hitting 363. You bring the infield in.
Not only that, but Martinez leading the American League against left-handed pitching too, batting .438 against lefties.
I would have to say this is a pretty good hitting situation.
Pretty good.
Nagel's 2-2 pitch is in the dirt again. 3 balls and 2 strikes on Martinez.
Couple of nice blocks by Mike Piazza, the catcher, smothering those balls in the dirt.
Alomar third. Nobody out in the 6th inning. American League leading 2-1. Popped up. Shallow left center field. Sosa coming in. And he makes the catch, and it's too shallow for Alomar to think about coming home. 1 down, and it will bring up Mo Vaughn. The All-Star Game is being brought to you by Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. By Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Dr. Pepper is just what the doctor ordered. And by Pepsid AC Acid Controller. You can be heartburn free with new Pepsid AC. Mo Vaughn hitting for the first time in the game. Frank Thomas started at first, fouled out, and hit a towering 2-run homer. And now the Red Sox first baseman stands in with a man out, the infield up, and working against Denny Nagel. 1-0. Vaughn played his college ball at Seton Hall, as did Craig Biggio.
As did John Valentin of the Boston Red Sox, the shortstop who could very easily have been selected on the American League squad.
Mo leading the league in runs batted in, 1 in front of Mark McGuire, and Tino Martinez is next. McGuire, by the way, would have been here. He was named to the team, but he was beamed the other day by David Cohn. Suffered a slight concussion, and they didn't want him to fly, and so Tino Martinez takes his spot on the bench.
And Vaughn, you know, not an automatic out, not hitting as well, hitting 290 as a whole, but only 244 against left-handers, 4 of the 24 home runs. But usually hangs in well, and you talked earlier about the shoulder staying in. We'll see if he's able to do that, Tim.
Nagel's 2-1 is fouled back. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Mo.
Well, take a look at the front shoulder. Just like when you pitch, but let's see if he stays in. Yeah, pretty good plate coverage. Breaking ball a little bit up in the zone, but he hung right in there.
Off speed, got him. Boy, well, he really set him up.
Oh, he did. Well, you know, again, we talked about Ray Miller. He said, work quickly, use all your pitches, and throw strikes. I mean, a graded bat for Edgar Martinez. He got jammed, and then Mo Vaughn. This looks like a breaking ball down and away. Location sometimes just as important as velocity. Certainly was there.
Now Albert Bell. So the National League had to play the infield in with a man at third and nobody out. Now they can go back to conventional depth with 2 down, and Bell at the plate. 2 out in the 6th. The American League leading 2-1. Off speed outside, 1-0 the count.
I'll tell you, Jim, in my judgment, velocity's about 3rd or 4th. It's way down the line. Location, movement, the later movement, the better. That's how you get batters out. Those guys don't come up to the big leagues if they can't catch up with a fastball.
2-0 the count. Alomar third. 2 down. And it's grounded to short. Larkin throws him out, and the inning is over. So they strand a runner at third after 6. 2-1 American, and back we come after this from our ABC stations.
One lawyer, one case, one mystery, one suspect, one victim, one mistress, one wife, one surprise after another. Murder One this fall on ABC.
There's a place where a man can actually enjoy shopping. It's called Larry's Shoes, where men can browse without worrying about, do they have my size or is this in my price range? Finally, it's Larry's Shoes Big Shoe Finale. Save up to 50% on over 60,000 pairs of our biggest name brands. With over 2,000 styles and 70 brand names, it's a little bit of heaven in the world of shopping, well, you know. Larry's Shoes, more than you'd expect for less than you think.
Had they only sampled its precise handling, they might have named it Import Car of the Day. Had they just heard its quiet cabin, they might have named it Import Car of the Week. And had they merely felt its powerful V6 engine, they might have named it Import Car of the Month. But they experienced all of it. And so we present to you the Nissan Maxima, Motor Trend's Import Car of the Year.
So how about you? You got your tickets yet?
Oilers want me back. They got to get a quarterback.
Oh,
I'm talking about a franchise quarterback.
What about Steve McNair?
The kid from Alcorn. The guy can throw 30 yards, flat-footed.
Yeah, while we're daydreaming, why don't we beef up the offensive line?
Yeah, with a guy like Stepnowski.
Stepnowski, 2 Super Bowl rings.
All-pro. That guy is a leader. They could use a good return man, too.
We haven't had a good return man since White Shoes.
What about Mel Grant? He's the man.
You know, if they did all that, I'm in.
I'll be right with you.
We could do it.
Hey, let's get season tickets.
But what is it?
I think that's your problem, isn't it? You see, you both think.
I feel.
It's art that communicates.
Naked power.
It's reaching out.
It's touching me.
Yeah, but what is it?
Real news means Dave Ward. The skills, the instincts, the experience. Real news means Sheriff Fryer, a Texan who knows Texas. It means Alan Hemberger and Melanie Lawson on the story.
Got it. Verdict's in.
The 13 eyewitness news teams at 5 and 6. Real people, real news.
Channel 13, Houston's all-star sports team.
Back in Arlington, Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver, and all of baseball's ailments will not be solved in one night, but after what the sport has been through over the past year, it's great in a way. You get to a place like Arlington for the All-Star game, and it really is something very, very special, and is again this year.
Well, not a lot of big things have happened in Texas, and mostly, you know, from doing Monday Night Football, it's usually about football. So this is a major, major event.
Paul O'Neill is in left field. Roberto Alomar is at second base now, and the new pitcher is Kenny Rogers of the Texas Rangers. So Albert Bell is done for the night, and then Alomar replacing Baerga at second base.
Talk about big events for this city, and certainly that is the case. Last year, the big event as far as baseball was concerned in this city was the perfect game pitched by Kenny Rogers.
Reggie Sanders, the batter, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike.
He's come a long way. Talking about Kenny Rogers, was a reliever. They wanted to make him a start. He had the stuff. I think emotionally had to get through it. Added a real good changeup.
In there, and the count 1 and 2.
Matter of fact, a long-time Dodger, Claude Osteen, talked to him many times. He said, you got to want to start. A little bit easier coming out of the bullpen, maybe facing a hitter once. Through the lineup 3-4 times, a little bit tougher. Not only physically, but emotionally.
2 and 2 the count. It's funny, every time Rogers throws a pitch, you see about 5,000 flash balls popping.
Yeah, right.
Randy Johnson remaining on the bench after pitching 2 innings tonight. The American League starter. And down goes Reggie Sanders. So that's a Kodak moment for about 4,000 who snapped at the opportune time. Here is tonight's Toyota Diamond Dust quiz. Hideo Nomo is the 4th rookie pitcher to start an All-Star game. He began the game tonight. Who's the only rookie to have started an All-Star game in center field? Answer in the bottom of the 7th inning. Mull that one over as Barry Bonds looks at a strike. The count is 0-1. Bonds has struck out and grounded out. And Rogers misses away.
I would imagine that it would be one of the center fielders of the 50s, either Snyder, Mays, Mantle, Richie Ashburn, who's going in the Hall of Fame this year.
Well, Mays would be too obvious an answer.
Yeah.
Our man Steve Hurt wouldn't have come up with that if it was Mays. Right, Steve? One ball, 2 strikes.
I'm going with Del Unser.
Del Unser? Good player.
Speaking of center fielders, the guy on the right, Jolton Joe.
The interesting thing about Joe DiMaggio is that his first 3 All-Star games, he was a right fielder. Earl Averill was the starting center fielder.
Right.
I'll tell you got to be a pretty good center fielder if you can play there in place of DiMaggio.
Well, in the voting, whether it's the managers or whomever, the fans, you vote for outfielders. And the broken bat there, and Barry Bonds giving someone a souvenir and a new bat coming back. But you could conceivably have 3 center fielders selected to the team. You have to just find a couple of guys to play left and right. One ball, 2 strikes the count. And it's 2-2. One of the American League coaches is Johnny Oates. It's traditional when a game is played, the All-Star game, in the home park of a team, that team's manager is normally assigned coaching duties, and that's the case tonight as Bonds hits it down the line in right field, and it is foul.
Yeah, a lot of managerial stories in the American League. Oates leaves Baltimore, where he has in 14 games over 500 because he wasn't a favorite of the owner, Peter Angelos. He comes down here. The manager here, Kevin Kennedy, as we take another look of Bonds just hooking one, breaking ball that he gets way out in front. Kevin Kennedy goes up to Boston. He's got him in first place.
That ball was awfully close to the line for Bonds not to have been running.
Yeah, well,
that ball misses by 2 feet, and Bonds is still in the box.
And of course, it's well known that Barry incurred the wrath of the fans in San Francisco and gave it back to them as well in a dubious retort earlier this year when he didn't chase a fly ball to left field off the bat of Kelly Stinnett. Here he lost one to right, and Puckett comes in to make the catch, and the ball wound up hitting the top of the fence. The crowd booed him, and what they're saying is, in effect, hey man, if you're making $7 million a year, hustle, would you? Speaking of hustle, zip, Don Zimmer. Recently retired, coaching with the Rockies earlier this season.
Leonard Coleman, the National League president, to Zim's left.
Now Piazza at the plate. Hits one to deep right field. Kirby Puckett going all the way back, and it is gone. Mike Piazza. So the National League has tied the game and all of the scoring tonight on home runs.
Awesome power. This ball hit out the opposite way, and pound for pound, there is nobody in baseball stronger than Mike Piazza. Nobody.
Now McGriff fouls it back.
Well, he just hits these soaring fly balls. You know, it came in this year hitting .321. Now, in the history of baseball, there's only been one catcher that's had a higher batting average after 3 years, and that's Bill Dickey. Bill Dickey passed away a couple of years ago, but not after getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Breaking pitch for a strike, and the count is 0-2. Well, it's a low-scoring game, but the fans have seen great pitching, and when you come to an all-star game, you want to see home runs, and they've seen 3 of them tonight. So they made the most of the least, only 8 hits in the game, but 3 homers.
Well, this guy can hit one. I mean, I'm not talking about Nomo. I'm talking about McGriff.
And he takes off the plate. Ball 2.
Only the 9th player in Major League history to have 7 consecutive 30-plus home run years. This guy can mash.
Still like 2-2.
Now you mentioned that down by 2 runs just the other night, Sunday night, 3-run home run to win the game. And I said, gee, nice hitting. He said they needed it. He's so unassuming until he gets a bat in his hand.
McGriff trying to hit 30 or more home runs in 8th consecutive year, but he is on a pace right now not to do it. He's hit only 11 at the All-Star break, and as you know, the season is shortened this year to 144 games. So it'll be close. Of course, the Braves are red hot right now. They won 9 straight and lead it in the National League East. As McGriff goes down on strikes. Fastball. Got him looking. But in the inning, Mike Piazza hits a home run. And at the end of 6 1/2 in the 66th All-Star game, the game is tied 2-2.
Dr. Pepper presents Just What the Doctor Ordered. Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh, the 1994 All-Star Game. Score tied, bottom of the 10th. Tony Gwynn on first. Moises Alou at bat.
Swinging a drive into the gap. This could do it. They got a play to Rodriguez. Safe.
For baseball fans and National Leaguers, Moises Alou's hit was just what the doctor ordered.
I've got a taste for living when you're by my side. Must be what the doctor ordered. Dr. Pepper's on my mind. You're the part of me that's the heart of me. Dr. Pepper, you're a part. Dr. Pepper, you're a part of me.
I can definitely connect my love of nature with the work that I've done. This is a polyester bottle. There's 30 billion pounds of polyester plastic produced in the world each year. Most of that has to be disposed of. DuPont has developed technology that allows us to recycle endlessly. It actually unzips the molecule. This soda bottle, perhaps it will become the shirt that I'm wearing, or videotape, curtains, films, carpeting, fabric, audio tape. It's evergreen. The cycle can continue on and on and on.
Onward and upward, the awards, the honors, the accolades for the Toyota Camry continue to rise. Driven by a powerful V6 engine, precision crafted to the highest standards, Camry has risen to become the gold standard, while its starting price hasn't risen at all. Introducing the 1995 Toyota Camry, newly styled, refined, and headed for even greater heights.
Meet the world's most courageous and inspirational athletes at the Special Olympics World Games. Plus more racing from the Tour de France, Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Back at the All-Star game, Al Michaels with Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver in the booth, Leslie Visser and John Saunders working the dugouts, Rick Dempsey out in the bullpens. A lot of changes here, and a special treat on the mound if you haven't seen him. Here are the changes. Now, Dante Bichette of the Rockies takes over in left field. In right field, the Dodgers sensation Raul Mondesi with a fabulous arm. Mickey Morandini is the new second baseman from the Philadelphia Phillies. Mark Grace of the Cubs is at first base. The new catcher will be Darren Daulton of the Philadelphia Phillies with Piazza out, and on the mound is a guy you just have to see pitch. Carlos Perez, the rookie, the brother of Pascual and Melito Perez. And if he strikes somebody out, you will see a show. The pitch to Cal Ripken is outside, ball 1.
It would be only fitting to have Carlos Perez do well because he's the first Montreal Expo pitcher ever to make an all-star team.
Good breaking pitch.
As a rookie. Yeah. As a rookie, I should say.
Well, now he's going to throw Cal Ripken a 1-0 changeup, and Cal will swing through it. Watch his reaction. Oh, yeah. Now, Joe Kerrigan, who's acting as a pitching coach for the NL because he's Philippe Allou's pitching coach up in Montreal, and also Carlos's, said he even does that in the bullpen when he warms up. It's part of the act.
Foul back. A lot of people think it's hot dogging.
And it is.
And some of the players, and it is, but why not? It's great. There's Kerrigan and Alou. But as Joe said, in the bullpen or when he's throwing on days between starts, just warming up, he does the same thing.
But Kerrigan will also tell you, as Philippe looks on, he said it's not just about the play acting and all that. This kid can pitch at 24 years old. I mean, he's got a good fastball, great control, great split ball when he gets ahead of the hitter. And we've already seen the changeup. So it's not just about acting.
Here's the 1-2 to Ripken inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And we'll see. I mean, he's only 24. Keep that in mind. Now, he just 1 and 2. I think that was a purpose pitch. Run him way inside. See if Cal can maybe take a look at the next pitch. He'll see if he goes away.
How great must this guy be in a disco, huh? And it's lined into left field for a base hit. So Ripken is on, and now Kevin Seitzer will bat for Boggs, and let's get a word with Leslie Visser.
Al, one of the most exciting batteries in baseball, Hideo Nomo and Mike Piazza. Mike, tremendous home run, but we have to ask you about Hideo. Why is he so good, and how do you communicate with him?
Well, I do the best I can. Obviously, he had his good stuff tonight. I mean, he could have went 9 tonight. I could tell he was really fired up, and I don't know. I mean, he's really perceptive. I've really had no problems at all. We talk, and he just seems to pick up what I'm trying to tell him, and we're locked in. I mean, we got great communication.
Guess you're telling him to throw strikes. Good luck to you. Thank you. Back to you, Al.
Okay, Leslie. The pinch runner at first base for Ripken is Gary DiSarcina of the Angels, who will probably stay in the game at shortstop. And now Kevin Seitzer, the only Brewer on the All-Star team, stands in. And the first base is swung on and missed. 0-1. I love watching Perez.
Yeah, he's great. It really is. Kidding about the hot dog stuff. There's a difference between hot dogging and being animated. And I think it's just it's part of Perez's arsenal. As you look at 2 guys with pretty good arsenals right there.
Neither of them accustomed to sitting on the bench.
The 0-1 pitch is lifted to right field. And waiting in his tracks is Raul Mondesi, and that's the first out. Kirby Puckett coming up. Well, we asked you in the top of the inning, the only rookie center fielder ever to start an All-Star game. Here's the answer for the Toyota Diamond Dust quiz. Richie Ashburn, you got it. One of the guys we mentioned.
All right.
1948, Whitey.
Going into the Hall of Fame this year, along with Mike Schmidt. As a matter of fact, the last 2 years have been Philadelphia Philly years. Steve Carlton going in last year.
Yep. Pinch hitter Manny Ramirez. Ramirez will hit for Kirby Puckett. I mean, not since Mark Fidrich has there been a guy on the mound like this.
Yeah, you're right. How many times do you see a guy diving back to first with no throw?
Watch this.
Diving back, no throw.
And for DiSarcina, he hasn't seen him. It's the first time he's seen Perez. Gary off to a very tentative lead at first base. And it's low for ball 2. 2-0. Well, his brother Pasquale, who pitched for a long time, mainly with the Braves, was very demonstrative and was a real character. But then there's Melito, who's kind of a cool customer.
Passive.
Yeah, he pitches with the Yankees. Melito right now on the disabled list. But there are all kinds of Perez brothers and cousins and other family members who've been involved in professional baseball through the years. 3-0 the count.
Just it's kind of like all in the family for the Montreal Expos. Felipe Alou is his son playing left field, and what a player he is, Moises. And the brother of Matty and Jesus Alou. Jesus Alou winning the batting title in the middle 60s. Or Matty Alou, I beg your pardon.
Three balls, no strikes. Game tied 2-2 in the 7th inning. And Ramirez hits one down the left field line, hooking toward the corner and going just foul.
Well, I got to think Carlos Perez knows about Manny Ramirez. All the pitchers in the American League do. I mean, this kid is a second year. And just check this ball.
Close. But the left field foul line umpire, Ted Hendry, right there to call it. A lot easier to call a close play involving the foul pole in an all-star game or a postseason game because of the presence of the foul line umpires. So no dispute. 3-1 pitch is inside for ball 4. Ramirez walks. In the American League now with runners at first and second and 1 out. And Pudge Rodriguez coming up, and now Felipe Alou is going to go to the mound. Well, he wanted to give Perez a chance to play in this game. Felipe has a sense of what, baseball needs, and among the things it needs is Perez to make an appearance, and he did. But now Felipe's got to think about winning the game. So he'll go to the bullpen. 2-2.
Despite going 0 for 56 as a replacement player, as well as committing 37 errors, people ask if I'm disappointed that the strike is over. For me, just showing everyone how much money could be saved by dialing 1-800-COLLECT. That was the opportunity of a lifetime.
Oh, well, I'm the kind of light that likes to bend around. You can point me left or right, or hang me upside down. But I'm not the kind of light you have to hang on to. Just use me when you need 3 hands, but you've got only 2. Cause I'm the snake light. They call me the snake light.
It's the totally flexible hands-free flashlight from Black & Decker.
Yeah, well, the snake lights from Black & Decker. We get around, 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 around.
Diet Dr. Pepper, the taste you've been looking for.
Here at Goodyear's biggest tire plant, we're gearing up for the tire sale you've been waiting for. It's our 25% off sale. Save 25% on selected Goodyear tires at participating retailers all across America. But hurry, this sale ends July 22nd.
A U.S. satellite with a nuclear payload is missing.
It's like somebody just took it.
Global disaster is imminent.
This I'm trained for.
Steven Seagal, Under Siege 2, Dark Territory, rated R. Starts Friday, July 14th.
Their son died for his country, but not at the hands of the enemy. How and when they found out will outrage you. A search for honor and justice. 2020, Friday.
2-2 is the score. Runners at first and second now, and Heathcliff Slocum of the Philadelphia Phillies comes in to pitch, with Ivan Rodriguez of the Texas Rangers at the plate. Go-ahead run at second base. Carlos Perez out after facing 3 batters. DiSarcina at second and Ramirez at first, and the pitch is in there. 0-1 the count.
Yeah, Felipe Alou's instructions to Heathcliff Slocum: get a double play. I mean, can you think of a better guy to do it? Out of nowhere. I mean, we talk about unknowns that all of a sudden are knowns. 20 saves. That's only second to Randy Myers, who's sitting out in the bullpen for the National League.
That's fouled back. They're using Slocum just to, I would think, get out of this inning. Among other things, he threw more than 50 pitches Sunday, which is obviously a lot for a closer because the Cubs and the Phillies wound up going into extra innings. Oh, 0-2 the count. And down he goes. So Slocum comes out of the bullpen. And there are 2 down.
You may have noticed the initials on the left thumb of the glove of Heathcliff Slocum. The initials are DS. To his wife, who died of cancer 11/29/92. She died 3 years ago, Debbie Slocum, and he is not remarried, but very touching thing.
Well, he's another of the guys who is an improbable. He is anything but a flash in the pan, having pitched professional baseball since 1984 and having bounced around. In there for a strike, and the count is 0-1 as Jim Edmonds stands in with 2 out and 2 on. Edmonds earlier this season a 23-game hitting streak, tied for tops in the majors this year along with Dante Bichette. So Heathcliff Slocum trying to keep the game tied at 2, misses low, 1-1.
Who would have thought last year that the California Angels would have had 4 representatives on the All-Star team?
And not only that, but think about the fact that not here would be Chili Davis,
right,
who's second in the league in hitting, Tim Salmon having a very good year, and Mark Langston, who's 8-1. Those guys aren't here, and 4 of them are. The 1-1 pitch is high, ball 2. Of all the stories in baseball, of all of the improbable stories, and we were talking about the individual improbabilities tonight, the Angels rank right up there.
Well, we talked about Cleveland and 6 guys here and their great offense, but the Angels scoring more runs than the Cleveland Indians. That amazes me. Credit to Rod Carew, their batting instructor.
Edmonds grounds it foul, and the count now 2 balls and 2 strikes. One of the Angels, DeSarcina at second, and Ramirez at first. Well, the Angels are a team obviously to watch right now because they're a lot better than anybody thought. They're in the middle of the race, tied for first place with Texas, and the infusion of Disney money. Disney with the option now to eventually buy the team when Gene Autry passes away.
And the addition of Lee Smith.
Big Lee Smith. Not that the Cowboys ready to pass away, mind you, but
of course not.
We love the Cowboys. Down goes Edmonds. He strikes out. Slocum does the job, and the Americans threaten but can't score in the 7th. Still 2-2.
I want you inside here with me now.
Meet the future's most dangerous killers. One's digital.
Somehow Sid got himself out of the computer.
I think I'm gonna like it here.
The other's the law.
Where's my gun?
Come on. Doesn't mean we can't be friends.
He's interactive.
Hey, Parker!
He only enjoys playing against his favorite opponent.
This one's for you!
And that's me.
Virtuosity.
Game over.
Rated R. Starts Friday, August 4th at theaters everywhere.
The customized 1947 Harley Davidson, about $15,000. The big twin shaver, about 35 cents. What do they have in common? They're both worth every penny.
This defensive coordinator's nightmare is brought to you by Thurman Thomas and his Righteous Low, who remind you that players are made in the preseason.
The infrastructure of America is in serious trouble right now. The problem is it's old. We're working our way out of the steel and concrete age to what's next. That's composites. Composites are reinforced plastics with fibrous material. It's a very light material, but a very strong material. DuPont's objective in building a composite car will be to triple the fuel economy. Big change. Being able to build things with these new materials is the most exciting process that I've ever been a part of.
DuPont. It's as far as Michelin science has ever gone. Our biggest breakthrough since we invented the radial. Technology that brings us to a new level of performance, in good weather and bad. In the rain, in the snow. Technology so advanced, it even saves gas. The new energy tires with Radial XSE technology from Michelin. It's science that goes beyond magic.
Canadian drivers Jacques Villeneuve and Paul Tracy lead IndyCar's best north of the border. They hit the streets for the Molson Indy Toronto Sunday on ABC.
Two-two. Go to the top of the 8th. Let's check in with John Saunders.
All right, Al, thanks a lot. Standing by with Cal Ripken Jr. Now, last year you went into extra innings. They didn't get you out of the game. You come out early, and they had to tug you a bit. You're not used to coming out of games.
That's true. I mean, whether it's the All-Star game, it's the regular season. I mean, when you're out there to play, you're out there to play to the end.
2 hits in this game, but let's talk about the streak. Has it been a distraction for you this year? It hasn't seemed so.
Actually, it's been a pleasant surprise. Starting the season, I was getting all kinds of advice to say you should have press conferences, et cetera, and I thought that was a bit much. But as we go into the city, I talk 10 minutes about the streak on the first day in before I have any offers, get it all out of the way, and then I'm free for the next 3 days. So it's worked out well.
All of the things you've accomplished in baseball, the streak here running as far as all-star games, the records you've set in the field, the hitting that you've done, over 300 home runs, and you'll be remembered for the streak. Do you ever wonder about that?
Well, you know, I'm comfortable with it now. It used to be I used to fight that label of the guy with the streak, but it's turned the corner into a positive thing, and I'm trying to enjoy it as best I can, and what the heck, the streak's not bad.
Not bad at all. We'll see you in September. Congratulations, Cal. Back up to Al.
All right, thank you, John. Steve Ontiveros of the A's is the new pitcher, and Jeff Conine of the Florida Marlins has just made it 3-2. Conine hitting for Gant as the designated hitter has given the National League its first lead of the night. All 3 runs, solo homers.
And the last 2 runs scored by the National League coming from a 62nd round draft choice and a 58th round draft choice. Think about it. There were about 2,000 players drafted in front of Mike Piazza and Jeff Conine, and they're responsible for the last 2 home runs. Unbelievable.
Larkin at the plate, and the count 1-0. Well, I guess the theme of the game has been the improbability of some of these guys who are playing tonight. And here it is, the only Marlin in the game. I mean, who in the world scouts a guy who would be picked in the 58th round?
Right.
How many people can you look at? Ontiveros throws out Larkin and is 1 away.
And the guy who came in to get the National League out of the last inning, Heathcliff Slocum, coming in with 2 on to strike out 2.
Meanwhile, O'Neill is in left. Paul O'Neill. Edmonds takes over in center. Ramirez is in right. Kevin Seitzer stays in the game at third. Gary DiSarcina at short. Alomar still in at second and Vaughn at first. Mike Stanley of the Yankees is the catcher, and Ontiveros is on the mound facing Bobby Bonilla. Steve Ontiveros continuing the theme, a fellow who has been released several times, spent a lot of time in the minors. He told me before the game, he said the low point was 1992. He and his wife had a hard time having a baby. She finally gets pregnant, has a miscarriage. He gets released by Detroit. He's out of baseball the whole year, only to reemerge the following season. Comes back with Seattle. Then the A's pick him up. He's a free agent at the end of last year, elects to re-sign with them, and here he is in the All-Star game. Outside. You know, he said before the game, he said when he was released by Detroit, he said, you know, I've always heard about the term pink slip. He said they actually sent me a pink slip to tell me I was gone. And down he goes. So Bobby Bonilla gone on strikes with a second out.
Well, he always could pitch. 89 had actually the Tommy John elbow transplant, but that split-fingered fastball, boy, does it make a difference as Buck Showalter comes out to talk to him.
It's revived a lot of careers, hasn't it, Jim?
Certainly has.
Mickey Morandini of the Phillies will be coming up for the first time, and they'll go to the bullpen and bring in the Tiger, David Wells. In the 8th, the National League on top, 3-2.
From Gillette comes a uniquely different form of protection for men. Gillette Clear Gel Antiperspirant. Unlike a stick that can stay in your underarm hair, this is a soft gel. It goes cleanly through the hair right down to the skin surface to fight odor and wetness where it begins. And that means powerful all-day protection. The revolutionary Gillette Clear Gel Antiperspirant.
Let Pennzoil put your backside, trackside.
Play Pennzoil's Brickyard
Brickyard 400 sweepstakes. 10 grand prizes of both a trip for two to the Brickyard 400 and a 95 Chevy Monte Carlo Z34. Over 80,000 other prizes. Enter wherever Pennzoil is sold or installed by the pros.
Brickyard's the game, Pennzoil's the name.
You ever hear anyone talk about life like you gotta chew it up and spit it out? You gotta want it so bad you can taste it. You gotta be hungry. If so, Gatorade has one question for you. You want something to drink with that? Because you're gonna be thirsty. Life is a sport. Drink it up.
Gramercy Press in cyberspace. We can set up our own bookstore on the internet. Click the book they want right on the screen. They're reading the baby. We can go to the schools, textbooks direct to the children's little hands. Cool.
Marketplace MCI. Your new business address in cyberspace. Online, interactive, secure. At your fingertips. To install the 21st century in your office today, call 1-800-888-8100.
Sunday.
Come here, you gotta hear this chick.
It's people you know now but didn't know then.
What are you gonna do? You're an ice cream cone.
A special half-hour edition of Before They Were Stars Sunday.
Yeah, you look at that shot. This is a brand new park, but it's built in the old style. You know what that reminds me of? It's sort of like that first Sports Illustrated cover, which was taken from third base, ground level, with Wes Westrom catching and Eddie Matthews batting. When SI began, you know, over 40 years ago.
Back in 1953
it's that same
or
angle,
so.
and it's almost that same look that County Stadium has. David Wells in to pitch here with 2 out in the 8th inning.
This is Jim and I were just talking about it, saying we'll probably go to our graves saying 1's a fastball, 2's a curve, 3's a slider. Mike Stanley talking to David Wells, and the first pitch he crossed him up.
Well, David's left-handed. What can I say?
David saying that maybe 1's not a fastball and 2's a curve.
I'm sure Rick Dempsey out in the bullpen can relate to that.
I want to know who Wells's haberdasher is.
Oh, I don't know.
Morandini at the plate. I mean, did you see when David started in from the bullpen?
Lanes. So if you have trouble, contact the FCC's Common Carrier Bureau in Washington, D.C.
Coming up, this woman says she understands what Susan Smith did to her.
Little pastime, but what's the future of baseball? Find out why the fans say 2 strikes and you're out. Plus, the ATF moves in on Eyewitness News tonight after the game.
Bottom of the 8th inning. Roberto Alomar of the Blue Jays leading off. Heathcliff Slocum trying to keep him close. Jose Offerman of the Dodgers is the new shortstop. As Alomar lifts it down the line in left field, but drifting over is Dante Bichette to make the catch. 1 away. And let's go to the bullpen and Rick Dempsey.
Well, here's a manager's dream. I'm sitting between 2 of the best closers in the game of baseball. Todd Worrell, my man right over here. He's probably one of you guys is going to finish this game right here. Todd, what do you feel about it?
Well, if Slocum gets out of this inning, he may have all 3 of us get in the 9th inning.
Randy, are you going to be ready?
I'll have to warm up and try to get there, but I'll try to be ready.
All right, you got to hold it down. I'm waiting for you to make that strut back and forth. 200-pound thing. All right, back to you, Al.
All right, thank you, Rick. Our man, the Demp.
Oh,
is he a beauty or what?
Oh, yes. Well, his parents were in vaudeville.
Here's Tino Martinez. He's hitting for his teammate, literally, with the Seattle Mariners, Edgar Martinez. They are not related. Tino named to the team when Mark McGuire suffered the concussion and was told not to fly. So Martinez, the Mariner first baseman, on a half swing, comes around, says Mike Winters.
Well, if you're a closer like Slocum, you're not used to giving in to hitters. And that's what he gets behind. He still throws him a good slider. The ball just going down and in.
And that hits first base. That's a fair ball and bounds into the corner. If he tries to go to second, well, that's too bad because that was Mondesi. And even though Martinez may not have seen Mondesi in person, he knows all about Mondesi's arm.
This ball hits the first base bag, and look how quickly Mondesi is on it. Over the head of Mark Grace. And Mondesi on that ball. There are not too many right fielders in baseball who get to a ball like that when they're playing straight away in the position. But Mondesi did to hold Martinez to a single.
And they'll go to the bullpen with 1 out and 1 on in the 8th inning. Tom Henke comes in. National League on top 3-2, bottom of the 8th, 1 out. A reminder on Saturday on ABC Sports, the Ford Senior Players Championship featuring Arnold Palmer and Lee Trevino. And then the Special Olympics World Games highlighting ABC's wide world of sports and racing from the Tour de France. End of week 2 this Saturday right here on ABC. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver, and Tom Henke of the Cardinals comes into work. He pitched here last year with the Rangers. With the tying run, Tino Martinez at first and 1 out, and Mo Vaughn looking at a strike. The count is 0-1.
Well, when you talked about Tom Henke in Toronto, he was called the Terminator. I mean, he can bring it. Got a great splitter. He had a guy at the plate with 24 home runs with 1 swing. I mean, he bludgeons the ball. Mo Vaughn is not about finesse. He's not going to get cheated. He may get fooled.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up Tom Henke's nickname in Toronto, because that's what he might do after this season. Terminate his career. Telling Al and me yesterday that unless the Cardinals make a move to be competitive next year, he is unsure as to whether he will return in 1996.
The bat splinters and the ball is tipped foul at the plate, and the count 1-2. Then we asked Mrs. Henke what she preferred, and she was very non-committal.
Yes, she was very diplomatic.
So it remains to be seen whether Henke comes back as we take another look at the bat shattering again. And also there's the possibility that this could be Kevin Seitzer's last year.
Kevin telling me before the game that he's about 80% sure that he will retire at the end of this year, and he's only 33 years old. But in an odd twist, he said that the 8 months off during the strike gave him a chance to reintroduce himself to his 2 children.
As Mo Vaughn takes a look at called strike 3.
Well, you talk about position of the ball on the plate. Dalton moves away. Pitcher's pitch. Let's see. As we look overhead, does it get the plate? Close enough. Tell you what, you get the catcher out in the corner and you hit the glove, you're going to get a lot of pitches.
Especially from Durwood Merrill.
That's true. Yep. Throw it here. Check out those arms.
He will give you the black of the plate, as they say. And an inch or 2 beyond. As Paul O'Neill stands in, but you were talking about Seitzer and rediscovering a normal family life, which is, I guess, one benefit of a strike in a perverse sort of way for some players.
Right. You wonder how many other players found that same satisfaction.
2-0 the count. Paul O'Neill, batting champion last year. Hitting here with 2 out. The National League on top 3-2 in the 8th inning, and Tino Martinez the tying run at first base. Just off the plate. 3-0.
I would imagine Paul will be hitting here. Highest batting average in the American League versus right-handed pitchers. You could bet he is swinging. Buck Showalter knows that Jethro, that was his affectionate nickname pinned on by Pete Rose, knows he can hit.
And he looks at a strike. He thought it was ball 4, 3-1.
Well, normally it is.
He'll take that, though.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't want to walk. Yeah. And that was, if it was a strike, it was a strike on the corner and not to O'Neill's liking.
Martinez at first. Below average speed, and they back off on him at first base as O'Neill hits a high fly ball to left center field. And drifting over is the Cubs' Sammy Sosa to make the catch. At the end of 8, it remains the National League 3 and the American League 2. Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes providing the Scenics. Beautiful shot of the ballpark in Arlington. Open now for a year and a half. North Texas hosting its first ever All-Star game. Looked like Will Clark for a second.
Yeah,
that's Scott O'Grady, the downed pilot who was shot down over Bosnia-Herzegovina about a month ago. One of the honored guests at tonight's game. Funny picture pops up. And speaking of Will Clark, well, that's pretty good.
He's the guy without the cap.
Lookalikes.
Right.
Will Clark,
Will agreeing with us.
Ranger first baseman.
Will
almost as if on cue.
Will also looks a little like Nolan Ryan, too, in that picture.
He does. Sammy Sosa to lead things off. Jose Mesa out of the bullpen. Mesa of the Cleveland Indians facing the Cubs' Sosa. A lot of people looked at tonight's game as sort of a pivotal point for the sport of baseball. And we mentioned at the top, we're not going to rehash what the sport has gone through. You all have heard about it ad nauseum. As Sosa hits a high fly ball to right center field and drifting back in front of the 377 sign to make the catch is Manny Ramirez. One game isn't going to turn it around. The sport knows it has its problems. Huge problems are still to be solved. We all know attendance is down 20%. The flip side is 80% of the people have come back, haven't left the game. There's a heck of a lot of work to be done. And baseball really has to think about the future, and a concerted effort is necessary to get this sport back to where it was a year and a half ago. And the players know it as well as anyone right now, or any particular group.
Well, the players better know it, and the owners better know it, because everything is ancillary when you compare it to a labor agreement. That is the one thing that everybody is agreed upon that has got to get done, and the quicker the better.
Mondesi flies out to Ramirez, 2 down.
Yeah, and how about a leader, a commissioner of baseball that doesn't have any conflicts? And stop telling, you know, for years, 20 years ago, they said we care about the fans. Finally, baseball, the players and the owners got to show them. And you know how you do that? Great pennant race. I mean, it's starting points tonight. Great pennant race, postseason play. And this guy right here, I mean, is there any more exuberance than those two cities, the guy on the mound from Cleveland and the guy from Colorado?
Yeah. Dante Bichette of the Colorado Rockies with 2 out. And the base is empty. And the count is 0-2.
Well, you know, we talked about Slocum for the Phillies being a great story. Cleveland, best offense, second best pitching. They needed a closer. This guy, 21 in a row. 98 miles per hour. Has been around for about 7 or 8 years. Has finally gotten it together. Jose Mesa. And as you said, only 29?
Well, the book says 29, but think about it for a second. If the book is right, the book being the Baseball Register, which is normally pretty good, he signed as a 15-year-old in 1982 with the Blue Jays.
Joe Nuxall.
Well, whatever. Yeah, that's right. So Bichette is gone. Mesa does the job. I don't know if he's 29 or 39 or 49, but he can pitch. And he throws hard. It's 3-2 the National League as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. '95 All-Star Game is being brought to you by DuPont. Better things for better living. And by Beechwood Aged Budweiser, the king of beers. This Bud's for you. Well, the game has featured some great pitching and a lot of power. Only 11 hits in the game, but all of the runs accounted for on home runs. And there have been 4. And now Randy Myers comes out of the National League bullpen. Myers of the Chicago Cubs And since the American League has used all of its position players, they can pinch hit. And coming up will be Gary DiSarcina, Kevin Seitzer, and Manny Ramirez.
Well, 1 out of 3 if you're an American League fan, it's not bad. Only one of those 3 hitters really home run hitters, trying to get back in this game with one swing.
It's interesting to note that the last time that Darren Daulton, the catcher for the National League, and Randy Myers, the pitcher for the National League, saw one another was 2 days ago when the Cubs ended a series in Philadelphia. In the bottom of the 12th inning of that game, the Cubs won that game in 13 innings. In the bottom of the 12th, with the bases loaded, Jim Riggleman, the manager of the Cubs, employing a 5-man infield that left 2 outfielders. Darren Daulton was the runner on at third base. A ball hit back to Turk Wendell, the pitcher, who came home to the catcher, Scott Service. And Darren Daulton went into him, as one is paid to do, to take a catcher out of the double play. Service completed the play to first base, and ultimately the Cubs won it. But if there was anybody who was not intentionally trying to take Scott Service and put him on the DL, he's going to be out for 4 weeks with a sprained left knee. It was Darren Daulton, and Darren expressing to me before the game his concern for Scott Service and how sorry he was that it happened. But if he had it to do over again, he'd do the same thing, because that's what he's paid to do.
And now Myers and Daulton, the battery, as they try to close out Gary DiSarcina and the American League. And it's a soft fly ball to shallow right center field, and Sammy Sosa in front of Mondesi for the out. 1 down, and Kevin Seitzer comes up. Here's the MCI, sorry about that, thinking about Bronfman, MCI proof positive replay. Jeff Conine, which with a home run here on the first pitch he saw in the 8th inning, pinch hitting, and that will turn out to be the game-winning hit if Randy Myers can take care of the 9th inning.
There he is. Funny thing about Conine, went to the Marlins in the expansion draft from Kansas City because he had elbow problems, and here's Kansas City a little bit in the race. What do they need? Offense. And because of the elbow problems, Conine not there anymore. Last in offense is Kansas City in the American League, but terrific pitching.
1 ball, 1 strike on Kevin Seitzer, the fellow we were talking about before, who's contemplating retirement at the age of 33 at the end of the season. Manny Ramirez on deck. In the game tonight, Frank Thomas, a 2-run homer for the American League in the 4th inning, and they led until the 6th. The National League did not have a hit until the 6th. Biggio hit a homer. Piazza homered in the 7th inning, and Conine homered in the 8th inning. 3-2 National as it's fouled away.
Another thing that Kevin told me, a reason that he may retire, he wants to open a baseball school in Kansas City with the catcher of the Boston Red Sox, Mike McFarland. They're the best of friends. They live 5 minutes away from one another, and that's another thing the strike gave him a chance to do, teach young players how to play the game of baseball.
3-2 the count.
You know, as we watch this game, it reminds the only game I ever was able to pitch on, and then the American League won, was in 1971. All the runs were driven in by home runs. Jackson, let's see, Robinson, Killebrew.
Here's the 3-2 pitch, hit sharply on the ground to second and right at Morandini. And the American League gets down to its final out.
And you got Bench and Clemente, all those guys in the Hall of Fame, and tonight a home run really making the difference.
Manny Ramirez, as you look at Conine and Biggio, and what would be the odds that those guys would be involved in a home run parlay tonight?
Well, when you talk about guys that can hit home runs and have quick bat, you're looking at one of the best young hitters in the American League. You can hit for average, you can hit the ball the other way. Tough to be fooled because he can wait so long.
That's in for a strike. Ramirez grew up in the Dominican Republic and then came to New York. And every time the Indians show up at Yankee Stadium, his pass list is very full. Great kid.
Oh yeah. What I like about it is the work ethic. Played the entire 1994 season as a DH. Mike Cargrove in Cleveland said, I'd like to put you in the outfield. He said, well, I'll go back down to the Dominican, learn how to play the outfield. Now he can do anything. And this year, a pretty good outfielder.
1-1 pitch is outside. 2 balls and 1 strike on Manny Ramirez.
3 pitches on the outside part of the plate, and I'll guarantee you Randy Myers will not come inside to Ramirez in this situation unless it's a mistake.
Exactly. And his strength. I mean, a couple of years ago, over 50 saves, Randy Myers, as you look at Nomo, still hanging around, because he's got great control.
That's outside. Mike Stanley is on deck. Myers behind in the count, 3-1. And it's 3-2.
So that's what pitching's all about, is as Tim McCarver told you, 3-1. You still don't give in to the hitter. Catcher moves away. You make your pitch or you walk him. Because if you're a closer, if you don't get this guy out, can hit the ball out of the ballpark, you're going to work on the next guy. You have that kind of self-confidence.
3-2. 2 out, bases empty in the ninth. The National League leading 3-2. And he fouls it straight back. Felipe Alou and the Cubs manager Jim Riggleman. Buck Showalter discussing things with Jim Edmonds. And the 3-2 pitch is just high, ball 4. So Merrill, and we talked about the fact that he has a huge strike zone, all of a sudden narrows it. And now Mike Stanley comes to the plate.
Well, take a look. Dalton, and you see the release by Myers. Dalton sitting away. Pretty close pitch. Normally, it's called a ball. Tonight's been a little bit bigger strike zone. You can see right now, not only maybe high, but definitely outside. So Durwood Merrill with a good call there.
Well, Mike Stanley comes to the plate. And wouldn't this be a dramatic story for a guy who played here in Texas, was platooned back at the plate, and then when Pudge Rodriguez came up from the minors, they knew they had a superstar in the making, and that made Stanley expendable. So he goes to the Yankees, and so here he is coming back whence he started,
well, his claim
with a chance to win the game.
Yeah, claim to fame here was to catch one of Ryan's no-hitters. Now, the claim to fame in a Yankee uniform is that this guy can hit. 2 years ago, hit over 300 with 20-plus home runs. He is a terrific low ball hitter with good power at all fields. I've seen him hit many, many balls out in center field in Baltimore. 410 here in the ballpark at Arlington, only 400 feet.
Well, he's going to have to hit it out the opposite way if he hits it out off Myers, because Myers is not going to come inside to him. He'd go away, 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 and if he makes mistakes away, his theory is that it's a single. You make a mistake inside, it's a home run.
And they are playing him to hit the ball to right field.
They sure are.
Yeah, Sosa over a couple of steps. Big gap in left center.
1-1 pitch is foul back. So again, the American League down to its final strike.
Came inside then, didn't
he?
Yeah.
But way inside.
One ball, 2 strikes. Two and 2. 3 runs. 3 hits for the National League tonight. All home runs. 2 runs, 8 hits for the American League. And the 2-2 to Stanley is lifted to right field, but right at Mondesi, who makes the catch. And the National League on 3 home runs, their only hits in the game, win it for the 2nd year in a row. The National League beats the American League 3-2. Well, it begins with Nomo and it ends with Myers, and in between you've got Biggio and Piazza and Jeff Conine, the only position player last year not to get into the game, comes up tonight, hits the first pitch into the seats and left, and the only representative of the Florida Marlins wins the game for the National League. And now for the MVP presentation, let's go to Leslie Visser.
Alan, with a guy who didn't even play in the game last year, but he's awfully thrilled to play tonight. I am joined by the Chevrolet 1995 Most Valuable Player, Jeff Conine of the Florida Marlins, and to present the trophy, Kurt Ritter of Chevrolet.
Thank you, Leslie. 2nd time's a charm for you. Listen, on behalf of all the Chevrolet dealers across Canada and the United States, I'd like to present you with the Chevrolet MVP trophy.
Thank you very much.
As well, Jeff, we will be presenting an Astro van in your name to the Special Olympics. Congratulations and best of luck to you the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
Jeff, what does this mean to you? 3 hits, 3 home runs for the National League, and a terrific home run that you hit.
Well, if you can't do it in postseason, you want to do it in the All-Star game. And some of my buddies back in Florida said, hey, if you get in the game, you got to swing for the fences. And I wasn't thinking about it, but it happened.
Well, congratulations to you. I think this will help bring people back to baseball. Al?
Okay, thank you, Leslie. Jeff Conine with the game-winning hit, a home